What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night: Hill versus Rountree Jr., taking a look at UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira. And to do all of that with me, as always, my co-host, my good friend, the Ohio player, and the man who thawed Miktabek Orlabai out of the block of ice from whence he came, Chase Parton. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm having a really good time. It's another good Monday because Saturday was pretty entertaining. There's a lot to talk about. Also, I would like to check it right now. There is a new name for Orabai. It is Orabai, by the way.
Hey,
So you
I
need to
like
check
it.
that now. We're going forward. It's Orabai. Obviously,
Well,
we'll talk about why.
yeah, or oral bite based on that insane weight miss, but we will talk about that as
We will
well.
talk about it.
Of course, we're going to talk about all of this stuff on this show, last week's fights right here, right now, going over each and every fight on UFC Fight Night: Hill versus Rountree Jr. So if you are new to the stream, that is what we're going to be doing here. If you got something else that you want to talk about that's not pertaining to the fight that we are discussing at the time, you can throw it in the chat. Just remind us a little bit later in the show, and we will come back and address it then. But starting this thing off, UFC Fight Night: Hill versus Rountree Jr. was in Baku, Azerbaijan, at the Baku Crystal Hall. Chase, what was that little point for?
I wanted to actually interject
Yeah,
before we get into the UFC card. I
sure.
actually wanted to talk about some other MMA that happened over the weekend.
Oh, please.
With the PFL.
All right.
And I wanted to start by saying, yes, Kevin Lee did get knocked out, and it was hilarious. I'm very happy that somebody was even telling me that it's gonna be hilarious, and I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is really, but it was hilarious. He went full prone, laid there for a few seconds, and then got up mad at the ref. It was really funny. And then I also wanted to talk about the fight that happened before it. It was with a 41-year-old lady against a 26-year-old. And this is the exact reason that I don't like mixing when it comes to gambling specifically. I don't like going from UFC and then watching PFL because the trends are just different. In the UFC, 41-year-old versus 26. All right, you know what's coming. She's getting the hell up out this organization. She's about to get her ass whooped. Not in PFL. No, she worked her over 2 rounds, left her with big old lumps on her head, busted, bloody, and she just did. It was light work for her. Like, she might have been on something, but
Well,
dude,
you remember what who they were?
Oh, I can't remember their name, but they are definitely somebody big because there was like a big fight set up for they would have it on here, right? PFL should be on ESPN. I'm sorry to make a damn shoot. Yeah, PFL. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, while you do that, let me give a quick shout out
either
to
way, Carmucci.
Liz Carmouche.
Yes, she smoked it. Yes, at age 41. Yeah, she smoked her, and it's like, this is why I don't like, with the betting trends, is because that is completely unexpected. I would go into it thinking, oh, the 26-year-old is up and coming, ready to go, but in PFL, that's just not the case. Apparently, this is a 26-year-old who's very, very green.
Well, I mean, but not necessarily. It's like we were talking about before. I mean, when it comes to the women, the window is a little bit longer because I could see Val being 41 and still smoking younger competition.
I truly agree, but I don't see Val going to PFL because
obviously that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, if she was quality enough to be in the UFC and smoke people, up until she's 41, then it's something different. But if I don't know, if Val ends up in a lower organization smoking people at 41, I'd really question where it went wrong, And for this woman, I mean, at 41, where was she at 32? Like, was she cooking? And like, I don't know who she is personally. I only see
Liz Carmouche. Yeah, I mean, she's an old school veteran of women's MMA, so she's been around for quite some time.
Okay, but still, I just wanted to point that out. This is why I wouldn't go into a PFL card like very interested to like make some money, is because trends are just very different.
For sure. Well, what did you think of the PFL card overall? This is one that you watched most of.
I watched a little bit of it actually because they kept saying Kevin Lee's up next, and they kept showing him doing, and it just never came after a while. Like, I watched like 7 fights.
It was the big draw.
Yeah, and it was like, it's just different than the UFC, man. I don't know. Actually, it's funny to me because I got food after work, right? And I don't know if anybody knows what Penn Station is. East Coast Subs. If you guys want a sponsorship, please go ahead and get one for us. But
Holler.
They play sports on the TV, right? And I didn't even I know these people in the Penn Station, but I didn't call and tell them like, "Yo, PFL's on." But I walk in and PFL's playing. Another prime example of why PFL is not really my cup of tea is because I'm watching on the screen this dude get a head and arm choke, right? Fully locked in. I'm like, cool, let me get my food. I'm like, I'll wait for it to, well, I'll wait for the ref to call it. I look back up, it's the third round. He's back in full mount, gets the head and arm choke again, doesn't get it. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, isn't this like an immediate kill shot? Like you get it and you're done. But like, no, that dude just never finished it. And I'm over here trying to get my food and he kind of ruined the meal. But
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are levels to this game, as we know. So, and I
yeah.
guess that's there's your PFL update. What I had to say about the Kevin Lee knockout was now we know where Kevin Lee fits into all of this. At the end of a fist, that's where he fits in.
Did
So.
you watch the actual knockout?
No, I have not actually seen the footage of it. I just know that it happened.
It's a pretty funny one, I'm not gonna lie to you, but either way, continue. Actually, we could talk about one for a second. I think
Sure. Yeah.
one,
I mean,
again, we don't talk about it enough. We don't really keep up with the timelines as much as we should. I think that should be a weekly update kind of thing. If we are a monthly, hey, one is happening, whatever, any
sure. Yeah.
organization that we're kind of thinking
Love
about.
one.
Anyway, this one was a really good card for the fights that I caught, and especially for the flyweights or atom weights, whatever you want to call these 118-pound guys that I was watching. Specifically, this Brazilian guy who looked, well, he looked like me, but he also had red hair, and I'm like, how did he get to Brazil? It was nuts, and he was going crazy. But then the other guy, Sunday was his name, by the way, the day of the week, the Lord's Day was his name. And he
Okay.
was also putting in a lot of work. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those two guys because it was a very memorable experience.
Yeah, no, love the one product. Yeah, I'd be happy to cover it more often. I need to catch more of it. Honestly, it's just hard to keep up with the
It's
schedules.
hard times, yeah.
Yeah,
We should start if we get more time during the week, in the future, we should start do like a rewatch along for those cards because
I
it's
would be happy to.
it
That'd be great.
it doesn't age the same because we're on the side of social media that puts UFC, PFL, like GFL, anything like that. But like one kind of slips by unless there's a crazy kind of knockout.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so there you go. I mean, there's your, I guess, a little other organization update from
Oh
the
yeah.
last weekend, the last week, I guess. Just start things off. But let's get into the UFC. I think that's what we were just saying. That's what people came for. That is what we are here for too.
Oh
Before we
yeah.
do that, real quick, just want to give a quick shout out to the chat because we got a couple people come in early. Beeb, Toby, appreciate you as always. And Everest, hello from Indonesia. Hello to Indonesia, my man.
I got an Indonesian flag up there for you, buddy. I'm just not going to get it right now. But either way,
There you
getting
go.
into the card.
Absolutely. So, UFC Fight Night Hill versus Rountree Jr. That took place in Baku, Azerbaijan, at the Baku Crystal Hall. This was the first time that the UFC had ever ventured into Azerbaijan. There were a little bit of noticeable tech issues with this event. So, I guess there were some, problems with maybe the internet connections, the Ethernet, whatever, however they get the feed out to the world. So that was just one thing off the bat that I noticed. But overall, pretty decently run event, I would say. I mean, I think that the pace was very good, and certainly those regional fans over there were having a ball, man. They were very loud for their people, which I appreciated.
You said decently run event. Like this organization wasn't one of the worst you've seen, dude.
Well, I mean, the quality
The
of fights is another
officiating, like
story.
the
Oh,
officiating. Excuse me, not the
well, all right,
organization.
that's a
The
different.
officiating.
Yeah, I would say that's a different, whole another ball game. We'll definitely get into that.
But no, I'm glad you brought up the technical difficulties. Like it was definitely apparent. I even rewatched some of the fights this morning, and I said, "Holy shit, this looks 10 times better than what I watched live." Like I don't even know. It was even noticeable that like the spotlights were on the fighters. Like it was a very bright showcase, and I don't remember thinking that at the time of the event because it was cutting in and out, the buffering, dude. ESPN Plus. I don't know who pays you guys. It was me. I do. And you guys fuck around and I don't get to watch my fight sometimes. So there's a specific moment that we'll talk about where I missed a really crazy one. So we'll get
Yeah,
into it.
that I don't. I wouldn't put all of that on ESPN Plus specifically, unless I guess you're saying buffering issues. Maybe there was something there on that part for you. But as far as like the feed goes, I think that was just because of the part of the world that they were in. At least that would be my my hunch anyway. But I really more of what I say that to say we had talked a little bit about this thing before it started. started saying, like, is it even safe for them to be there? I don't think that any of the turmoil in the region had anything necessarily to do with the connection issues, but just all the atmosphere, I guess, surrounding everything in that part of the world would have given me a little bit of pause about the event in general. So I was very glad that it all went off as smoothly as it did, even with a couple of hiccups here and there.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm excited to get into this one because there's so many things to talk about.
Indeed. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the refereeing. I had in
We're gonna
the
get into
oh,
plenty
we're
of
gonna
them.
yeah, well, and
You're
I was
gonna
gonna
bring up a
say
lot, and it's gonna make me remember even more.
for sure. And then the judging as well. I said I think that the judges on this card wanted to buck the trend of regional bias in their decision making, but we're still committed to getting the calls wrong. So it's like they have a benchmark of being wrong that they need to maintain, and Lord did they keep up with that. So let's start this thing off with the first fight of the evening. Hamdi Abdelwahab versus Mohammed Usman. Hey, okay. So, why did Hamdi not choose to wrestle? I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that one. But either way, I thought that Hamdi looked pretty decent on the feet, and I thought that this was starting things off, setting a bad precedent as far as the decision making of these judges go.
This is probably where last week's fights. This is where we went wrong, and we're gonna be very wrong about some other ones.
Yeah,
And this one was actually pretty ridiculous because I do agree. I think Hamdi won, but if I'm being real, Muhammad Usman did have those moments that stole the round. Like he rocked Hamdi at the end of the second round, and in the third round, I'm like begging Hamdi to keep the pressure, put it on him, and then he gets rocked again. I'm like, oh fuck, no fucking way. Like if there was a close round, I mean, it's gone. But that he got every judge's nod, Muhammad Usman. I'm pretty appalled at this. I actually, so the reason he didn't wrestle, I can tell you this, is because I was genuinely wrong. I wanted to have hope that he would be a good wrestler, but he shot, couldn't get him down, just didn't even attempt again. He just gave up.
well, that's the thing though, is that he shot, but I didn't really feel like it was like a full on shooting. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
was like he sort of went into the motion, but it looked like he was really using it as pressure versus like setting up a shot, almost a feint. But like it was just he never like committed to the takedown ever.
It's funny you actually bring that up because in the moment, because like in my mind, I'm like, Hamdi's 1 for 1 on takedowns. He still can be the GOAT. When he did that move, I'm like, that's not a takedown. He didn't shoot. He didn't shoot. And but
Yeah.
no, they gave I looked right at the stats. I'm like, no, they fucking took it.
Nope, no takedowns in this fight on either side. The fact that they gave Mo Usman 4 attempts is kind of crazy to me too. There was really nothing doing as far as anybody trying to get anybody to the ground in this one. But
This
yeah,
this one is just the first example of just 2 fucking horrible heavyweights fighting, and
I
we'll
mean,
talk about some other ones.
well, I don't know though, because I thought that Hamdi looked somewhat decent early in this fight. Like Usman looked awful in the first round. I mean, he was like this is a big problem that Mo Usman has in general, is that he reacts to everything like he's in pro wrestling. I mean, Chase, you're a big pro wrestling guy. You know about selling. This dude,
Yes.
I mean, he's out here selling these shots like he is really, on the he's a jobber for Ric Flair kind of thing. I mean, every leg kick, he's like about to drop. He's barely throwing any strikes. He's getting back down as well. He also got stumbled in that first round too. So round one was just a wash for Usman. I was like, this is the vintage Mo Usman that we know and are used to at this point. Better success for him in the second round, but Hamdi did keep the pressure on. The body language was awful for Usman again in the third. He was flailing around, like I said, he was floundering on the watch along. It's like he's flopping around like a fish out there. It's like he is like when in Scooby-Doo when they see the ghost for the first time, where it's like, woo, like that kind of thing, and just like like really like shaking, going backwards. That's what he looks like to me sometimes. It's just like, and it also he hits air. That's the other thing that really bothers me about this decision, is that like these judges are, I think, were like giving him a lot more shots than he actually landed, because he's at range a whole hell of a lot, because he didn't want to engage in close distance. So he's swinging from far distance and like barely grazing with some of these shots. They look powerful because he looks powerful, but that's all perception. That's all physique speaking, more so than what actually added up with damage.
It's just interesting that when you go to any other weight class and people get tired, they rely on what they're good at. Anytime in heavyweights, they just rely on just throwing meaty slugs at each other because they're just exhausted. And that's outside of the first 3 minutes for every fight. You even saw Hamdi started out with a lot of leg kicks. After round two, he just did not leg kick anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, Hamdi, it felt like he was trying to make a statement with standing and trading, which I'm always like, dude, every single time there's a bunch on this card that was actually like that, where it was like, you're choosing not to do what you're good at and expecting the outcome to go your way. And like sometimes that can happen if you're really that good. But like if you recognize early on that you're not having the success that you think you're going to have with the alternative strategy, fall back on the tried and true that can get you to the win. Like it just seems very strange to me. And especially by the third round for Hamdi, I mean, granted, he had gotten rocked in the second, so it should have been by the third that he knew that something needed to change. But then at the end of the fight, when he had gotten rocked again and his hands dropped, I was like, oh, he might actually get finished right now. But luckily
Yeah.
it was Mo Usman, so that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, he was wiggling around a couple different shots, which is probably what gave him the rounds for Mo Usman. Those powerful shots that he once in a lifetime landed twice and did not capitalize on because he's terrible. This was a hurtful one to watch because I do this every time, especially when it comes to heavyweights, and we will talk about it later.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, these dudes are not great. They're going to go to decision. I don't care how tired they are. That means they're just going to stand there longer and not throw anything at each other. You guys expect them to exhaust and just fall over. Mo Usman and Hamdi, I mean, they went to decision. I should have got the right call on Hamdi, but I mean, I don't know. These guys are just not killers. You can't sit here and talk about heavyweights, especially right now, unless his name is Tom fucking Aspinall, and we will talk about him later.
Oh yeah.
But none of these guys are a threat to the throne at all.
No. I mean, really the thing that bothers me the most about this, aside from I thought that Hamdi took it 2-1, is that we're going to have to see more Muhammad Usman fights, and that's just really unfortunate. So, yeah, starting this thing off off to a bad, off on a bad foot in my opinion with this decision, but. Again, this is the first of a couple examples where it was like you'd think that regional bias would have steered them in the right direction, but I thought they were like, no, we're bucking the trend. We're not going to go for a guy that's even anywhere close, regional, culturally, whatever, similar to the area. We're going to go with Mo Usman, and I mean, congratulations for doing that, I guess. But there was really nothing else that I had on this fight. I was just upset with it.
The last thing I'll note, if you guys want a good betting tip, in my opinion, all of the last handful of first fights on the card, decisions. It's just slugfests, and some are actually really good. This one is not better than the women that we've seen the last couple times, but like there are going to be decisions most likely. It's people are getting sat down. They don't understand what's happening. People are just talking a different language, and there's just a fight going on. It's like, all right, where's my hot dog? Like, shit like that. So I think that's a good decision bet for the first fight. It's always something that you may think could get a finish, but likely no. They're just not that guy.
And I mean, that speaks to a broader point, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent about this, but as we have seen the quality of these cards kind of dipping recently, over 1.5 should just be your default in a lot of these. It would feel like, I mean, like, yeah, there's going to be standout, finishes here and there, but like, I mean, on this, I actually made a ton of money on this card. Amazingly, I did not think that it was going to be that way, but a lot of that came from just seeing the trend of how many decisions we had on this card. I was like, well, shit. I mean, if we've had all these decisions so far, it's been peppered dotted with a couple of finishes, if that. I think it was maybe 1 or 2. So, I was like, okay, maybe over 1.5 is a safe bet. Yes, it was. So, just keep that in mind for some of these like fighters who are either starting out their careers or are not of the caliber that you think is, like high level. Go, at least over the 1.5 is in a 3-round fight generally has been a pretty safe one.
100%.
All right. Well, that was fight number 1. Fight number 2 over here. Another strange one to me. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Azat Maksum. What'd you think?
Dude, I think that we were pretty disrespectful to act like we don't know who this guy Maxim is. Because I definitely didn't, but I do now. And I don't think anybody should ever act like they don't know who this bowl cut guy is ever again. Yeah. He's really goddamn good. And I think arguably, if I'm not even being generous because I had money on Tagir, he might have won this fucking fight. I think
Oh yeah.
as Matt was doing really fucking good this fight, and all the times that Tagir was trying to wrestle, he was negating it. He was getting back up. Tagir was relying on wrist. They 0 for 8 on takedowns. Yeah, that's nuts. Tagir was relying on the hand lock around the waist, but he wasn't doing anything with it. Anytime they were getting in the clinch, Maxim was just destroying him with the uppercuts and the dirty boxing. And every time that happened, I think he was losing that spot. And I don't know how the judges gave him 30-27. Like, that's ridiculous. Maxim looked really fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Toby coming in early with that. Two
Yes,
thirty
two of
twenty
them.
sevens, just insane on this one. Yeah, I mean, starting it off, the crazy takedown defense for Maxim was really cool. And like that happened like 2 times on this card where there was
Hmm.
like up in the air. He's like balancing on Tagir's leg for a little minute. That was kind of cool to see. But aside from that, in the first round, it was kind of just a couple okay shots on both sides. It was kind of point fighty early on, but later on, I mean, it was like got to the point where it was like very clinch grindy in round 2, like late in the round. That's when Tagir got that fence grab as well, which was
True.
not
Oh, right
great.
when the ref did nothing about it and it changed the whole, like, dude, he literally was picking him up and taking him to the ground and then he grabbed the cage and it's
Yeah.
like it changed. He didn't give a shit either. He just let it go, didn't change, didn't stop, didn't put him back, didn't put him on the mat, didn't care.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So I mean, it was like we were seeing a lot of like that's the whole thing about this fight, I think, was that two things. One is that I think that what may, and this is speculation, of course, but you got to try to figure out what these judges actually saw. I think that Maxim is a little bit too jittery for his own good, except both of these fighters in this fight, especially for flyweight, were both kind of slow. It was a weird dynamic of this fight. Like it wasn't like they were not like slow as in like the grand scheme of the sport. Like it was a fine pace, but we know what flyweight is. I mean, these guys are
Mhm.
usually out there fucking, going a mile a minute. Both these guys had a kind of a very like subdued pace. And I think that the jitteriness of Maxim early might have been maybe part of it where he looked a little bit out of sorts early on. He settled into it a little bit later on, and that's like round 3 where you're talking about too, when they were in that clinch, in the tie clinch specifically, where like he was rocking some nice uppercuts in there, and it was like, damn, this guy really is pretty goddamn good. Tagir had a couple of good shots in there as well, but it was Maxim's volume that swung it for me at that point. And then those 2 ragdoll tosses at the very end of the fight were pretty cool as well for Maxim. I agree. I think that this was a 2-1 Maxim fight here. Another terrible call, in my opinion. And those 30-27s are absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, I think what's a good indicator is, especially when you have money on the line and you're watching someone and you have to make a case for why they won the round. It's like, okay, well, he did this, he did that. Tagir, he got the clinch. He took him against the cage and he got control time. He didn't necessarily get a takedown, but he's got control time. If that's what I'm having to pull out my ass because Maxim has been rocking him in the top and in the clinch and putting defending all of the takedowns. I mean, I don't know. I feel like even when I walked away from the monitor to go to the bathroom after this, I said Maxim's got this. Like, there's just no way that they shouldn't give this to Gear. Like, this is a hand me kind of performance. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it goes back to the same conversation that we had on this show about the Jose Aldo and Mario Bautista fight, where it's like, how are you counting control time against the cage? Like,
Mhm.
or anywhere really, that any control that does not add up to something greater, how is it being factored into the grand total of everything? And I think that I in that conversation I was kind of giving Bautista a little bit of credit because I didn't think that Jose Aldo was doing enough to negate what he was doing. But it's like, it does get to a point where if it is just complete stalemate, then it should be counted as complete stalemate. And that there are a couple times on here on this card, this fight included, where it's like, yeah, you're counting failed grappling
Mhm.
as control and as a deciding factor. Shout out to Toby on the wording on that as well. So yeah, this was a weird one as far as the judging went. I thought that Azat won this fight pretty handily. Definitely going to keep an eye out for him going forward now because of it, but he goes forward now with another loss, and that sucks.
Yeah, I was definitely gonna say that's my only no going out of this one is that Maxim is somebody to keep an eye out for. He is looking really sharp in this one, and there's some good matchups in flyweight. I mean, he's somebody that kind of just popped out of thin air. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna fight Tagir," and it's like, "All right, fuck it, let's see what you got." And he showed why he needed a matchup that was pretty decently, competition, and this was good.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and talk about good competition in flyweight. It's the most competitive division in the sport
Yeah,
right now. So, there's plenty going on down at the lower weight. And, he's right there in the conversation now. And as far as Tagir goes, it's like, yeah, you get another win there, but like, does this really move the needle forward for you?
right.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
mean, I definitely don't think so. I mean, he's gonna stay where he's at, but Maxim is the only one that walked out of here with some stock. So
Yeah, I agree. Well, is what it is yet again with the judging. So, we're getting Azerbaijani, first event judging. But moving on to the next fight here, Irina Alexieva versus Claudia Segula. I will take it 100% that I was completely incorrect about Segula. I said on this show, and me, Chase. Sometimes I can be a little grumpy. I gotta. I have my good days and my bad days. Sometimes I get a little bit out of sorts. I said that Segula was one of the worst fighters I had ever seen, and that is very harsh. And I should reel that back in, because listening back to the original conversation we had about her first fight in the organization, I had said we did not see enough from her to get a full impression of what she could or could not do, because she was worked over so handily by Melissa Mullins, who we'll talk about in a little bit too. So I should have maybe not have gone so heavily on her, but I do remember her stand up looking way worse in her first fight for as little as there was. So what I can say is that I do think that she has made some major improvements, at least fight over fight from what I remember. But then I can also say that Irina really is Russian Ronda, because her striking is exactly of the same caliber as Ronda Rousey.
I just have nothing to say about this one other than I I know you were talking about Segula being the worst. Irina dead ass, and I have a list. Trust me, she dead ass is towards the worst in the organization right now. She has nothing. Alexieva walks forward with her hands down, just throws hooks, gets punched in the face. Like I don't. She's game. I'll give you that. Like she really does want to like walk in there and fight, but she just gets popped up on the outside by somebody who's a decent counter striker. And Claudia is maybe not even that great of a striker. She just popped her up. Honestly, we saw some great striking from the women. So let me not even try to downplay her because she walked in there and did her thing. And Irina, girl, no, this ain't it. 5-3, we're gonna have to go ahead and get out of the contract.
No, but this is another example of what I was talking about with Hamdi, though. If you don't or can't do what you're good at in a fight, you often lose that fight. Alexieva chose to strike. This was the result. Her name is Russian Ronda. Why did she not try to take this thing to the ground more? The only time that there was anything significant on the ground was Segula making it happen. This
You
is that
know,
like you're leaning on a base you don't have, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry.
yeah, no, I agree. This girl, I honestly don't even think she's all that, to be honest. Russian Ronda is pretty. Did you see her tattoo? She's got Russian Ronda.
Atrocious. Yes, I
Oh my
did
gosh.
see
Oh
that.
no, what does it say? No love or something like that across her.
I think it says "love me."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was like
that's
that's another one that's a little
But either
curious.
either way, yeah, I don't even think she's a grappler. Shout out to Mank in the chat because he was like, she's named Russia Ronda. I don't think she's got a single arm bar on her resume yet. So whoever figured that one out, I don't know, but she's not anything close to Ronda Rousey. Let me tell you, Ronda Rousey was pretty damn good for the time. I don't care what you guys want to say. Striking might be pretty abysmal, but she was able to flip them and do the thing. So
Well,
whatever.
that's the entire point here is that she has the nickname for no reason if she's not going to try to do anything like that. And then, we're talking about her stand up. I mean, she has zero defense on the feet. It was bad, bro. She drops her hands to strike, leaving her face wide open, hands low often, combos landing directly on the chin. I mean, like you would think that after being punched in the face 4, 7, 12, 16 times, that maybe it would be the indicator that you want to raise your guard just a little bit. No, didn't cross her mind. She just wanted to drop her head, throw those overhands, and let the chips fall as they may. The only other big thing, I mean, well, and she did, Segula did wobble Alexieva with a back fist in round 3, so that was pretty nice. Like I said, I think Segula has leveled up a little bit. So again, I want to at least walk back some of my statements about her, because she looked much better than I had seen her originally. But this was one long round of striking between these two until the takedown in round 3, in the midway of round 3. The only other thing that I really did have to say about this was that those high inside leg kicks for Segula did finally end up playing a factor here. She got 2 shots to the cooch and no point deduction there. So I thought that was a little bit strange.
Yeah, I agree. There was 2 cooter shots, and the ref. I think it was funny because in these moments you get to see how kind of interesting the sport is. Like you have Paul Felder and Michael Bisping going, "Man, Laura needs to be here so she can give commentary on this one." Right? It's like, what's more to say? I mean, she got kicked into private parts. I mean, I agree. Laura can maybe give some insight, but like, I just think it's a funny comment to make on live TV. But either way,
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that it's an illegal foul for both sexes. You know what
yeah.
I mean? So it doesn't really matter. It cannot be pleasant.
I would also like to know, this should tell you how bad Alexieva's striking defense is. So when Thinker said that she got staggered by a back fist, he did not mean a spinning back fist. No, Segula punched, whiffed, and then backhanded her. And then she gets fucking rocked. And I like, that is the most crazy part of this whole situation. It's like, out of all the clean strikes, she had to miss one and then bitch slap her for her to fucking wobble. So
Pimp name slip back over
yeah,
here, dude. Oh Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. Look, it was a rock'em sock'em robot type of fight between these two, so I do appreciate that. Both women's fights actually pretty bloody, pretty gritty in that regard. So I do give them credit for standing and banging. We often are saying how it's always ground game for these women. Who's going to be able to get the takedowns, a lot of grappling exchanges, clinching, this type of thing. So it is nice to see ladies going out there and just letting the hands fly. So I appreciate that part of it. Segula making improvements, I appreciate that as well. Alexieva, it's like if I said that Segula was the worst, then Irina might just be the worst.
I tell you, I'm telling you, she's close to the worst. I think what's really funny about this matchup too, obviously you're never going to go rewatch this, but you could turn this on for a few seconds and just watch Claudia dance around Irina and her chase after her with no plan at all. She has no idea what she's going to do when she gets there. She's just trying to go after her. And then Claudia puts on a striking performance that was, again, very, very good. There were times where, again, she looked like she didn't know what she was doing. But I mean, other than that, Segula is somebody, I mean, 7-2, she's got the same record as some other people we'll talk about. So she might be decent enough that at bantamweight, though, she's really kind of skinny and slender. Both of these women, I don't feel like are true bantamweights that I would believe. Like Kayla Harrison is a bantamweight. Like,
Right.
obviously, she cuts down to it, but like, these girls are really, if they have championship aspirations, Miss Segula, you might need some work, but
Yeah.
we'll get into that later.
Most definitely. But credit to her for improving time over time, because like I said, I think that this was a massive jump. Even if she has some major things to still work on, I think that if you go fight by fight, she has made a significant leap. So very nice in that regard.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into, before we do, real quick, just wanted to give a quick shout out to Zed Majid and Lazy Bed checking in. Thank you both, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, shout out Lazy Bed. Shout out Ohio, man.
Yeah, indeed. So moving on to this next fight, Daria Zelezniakova versus Melissa Mullins. This is your girl, brother. What did you think of her performance?
To be fair, if I want to be real, I think you could argue that she won this fight, and I'll start there.
Okay.
I'll
go ahead.
There. We'll get into the round breakdown, but I want to start by saying I think it was possible that she won this fight, and that's me being generous, yes, but I don't think it's that far fetched. And when you take into context, this is a match that has already happened. This is a rematch. I didn't know this. Melissa Mullins finished Daria in the first round with like 30 seconds or like, something seconds left or whatever. And going into the fight, there's also a clip of Melissa Mullins saying that Daria is the hardest hitter that she's ever faced. And I said, well, what the fuck? Why do they wait till the fight week to say these things on TV? Like, anyway, So we get in here, fight starts. Melissa Mullins takes the first round beat down of a lifetime. She gets her face beat to shit. And I'm thinking, what in the fuck am I watching right now? There was the word, it was striking defense. Like if Irina was actually, not facing a counter striker and somebody who was walking them down and trying to put them, fist through them, this is what would have happened, because Daria looked damn good on the feet for a hot second. I don't think she looked great throughout the whole fight, because at the end of the fight, she stopped throwing as much, and I thought she was getting walked down. Even if she was landing the better strikes, I think Melissa was still doing the advancing and making the fight. Anyway, so first round, she obviously beats the fuck out of her for like maybe the first minute.
Almost finished her, actually. I mean,
It
she looked
did.
like she could have been
True.
put out.
True, I agree. Great note, great note. Melissa Mullins was on the verge of finish, but she is gritty. She did not get finished. There was actually 2 points where she almost got finished. We'll get into the next one later. She almost gets finished. Then at the end of this round, she gets a takedown, and then she's on top doing ground and pound. And then I don't know if you wanted to give me props almost for a split second when Melissa Mullins went for the armbar, and I thought I was Jesus Christ for a second. I said I knew it. I told you guys she's going for the sub. We are rich. I turned the TV off and went home and did other things. But either way, that's not what happened. Melissa did not get the sub. The bell rang. She probably should have just went with the ground and pound like she did the first fight. But I told you she had something to prove. And was I right? Unfortunately, yes. Anyway, the second round.
Yeah.
Go ahead, first round. You break
Well,
down
yeah,
first round.
I was just gonna say that like throughout all of this, the breakdown basically is just that Mullins wasn't first with her striking early. She needed to recognize that she was nearly out of the fight and put the pressure on Daria more, get her to the ground. She did that eventually in the fight, but she didn't do it with enough time ever to make it count. So to your point about the armbar, it was like, yeah, I did appreciate that, like she recognized that there was an opening there and tried to capitalize on it, but with the amount of time that she had to work with it, I think that it might have been the smarter move to not. I mean, she probably should have just gone for elbows and racked up damage as opposed to trying to go for a finish that was too close to be able to be completed.
Especially after she had all the damage on Daria's side. Like she took so much wear on her
Oh
face.
yeah.
She was busted up. And credit to her, she did try, she did a great job to finish this fight, because there was another point, I think it was round 2, but it might have been round 3, where she got kicked in the sternum, like in the liver kind of deal, and buckled over, and they were like, "Whoa, is it low?" And but it was definitely clean. And credit to actually that moment, the ref didn't step in and stop it for a second, like with fucking Josh Van and fucking Ray Sarua. Anyway, so I think this one just didn't go Melissa's way, but I do think that she did have the moments to steal the rounds. But she was, again, her striking defense was not there. She was getting beat the hell up by Daria, and that's what sucks, because she started to slow down. Like the openings were there for Melissa to actually win the fight. She just didn't take them. And like you said, getting the takedowns too late, not implementing the damage aspect that she should have. She wanted to go for the submission. And in my mind, great idea. But in my mind, you're not getting your fucking ass whooped for the first fucking round of it, for the first 50 whatever percent of it. So it just sucks to see this. I also wanted to note that Melissa posted on her Instagram like a bunch of DM screenshots, and that was fucked up, y'all. I'll say it. That was fucked up.
Yeah, I saw what you were talking about with that. A lot of vile comments coming her way, which I'm sure a lot of fighters deal with. Most fighters, I would say. I mean, the
Mhm.
majority of fighters are getting all kinds of vitriolic stuff thrown at them every time that they lose, sometimes when they win. Tough sport in that regard. And it really, that's the part of the sport that I hate the most, is the way that people feel like it's okay to say that kind of stuff to fighters. You know, go fuck yourself with that. I mean, it's a hard enough job having to go in there and get punched in the face for a living. You don't need to be taking that kind of abuse online thereafter. So if you
True.
do that, you are a dickhead.
Yeah.
As far as this fight goes, though, I thought, yeah, Daria was pretty sharp at most definitely in the beginning, obviously, but like I thought that if she could keep up the power with more consistency through all 3 rounds, she would be a lot more dangerous, because you were right, she definitely did fade. She had Mullins hurt early in the fight. Mullins really couldn't level change effectively early on because of that. She, like I said, could have probably been finished if Daria had not taken her foot off of the gas, but that's just a limitation of her physicality, I would suspect. But Mullins did fight her way back into the competition with some good strikes, gets the takedown. That was when the armbar happened. As I said, I think that she should have made a wiser choice in that moment, but I understand the thought process there. So I see a good fight IQ overall from Mullins. It's just you have to be in the moment, and those split second alterations have to happen like as quick as that, because like, if you recognize that you have that and you go for it, now you're committed to it. And there's no changing course in that moment, especially with what, 15-20 seconds left on the clock in that round.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know if I can make the excuses for Melissa because she's somebody who is just now gained the reputation, in my opinion, as inconsistent. She shows up, she gets finished by Nora Cornola with some body kicks, and then she comes in here and damn near gets finished by Daria, and then again with the body kicks. I mean, I don't know what's up with the cardio, soft belly. She's just got to be, I don't know. It's going to be hard for me to believe in her again enough to be like, oh yeah, she's fucking got it. Because Daria, I know, is not somebody who's like the goddess of the bantamweight division. We just saw Eileen smoke her like a couple weeks ago, and to her credit, actually, there was a clip that they showed before this fight, and she actually dropped Eileen in the fight, if I want to be honest. So maybe it was on paper, but it looked like it on the clip. So, but she did get submitted. Melissa, you could have done the same thing if you would have just took your time a little more. Obviously, not got beat the hell up in the first round, but it is what it is. And I think going forward, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, and I mean, to your original point about there being a case for Mullins winning this fight, I would probably disagree, but I do think that this is one of those unfortunate cases where the rounds were very close at times. The first aside, definitely the second and third rounds I thought were pretty close.
I
But
thought the first she stole.
I mean, hard to give her that after the beating that she took. But I mean, I think that really the issue comes that like, because you see the 30-27s, I thought that the 30-27s probably were correct, but only because it was like that, the razor thinness of the like either way that it could have gone did end up going over to Daria, and that's unfortunate for Mullins because the 30-27 does not tell the full story of the fight, even if it might be correct.
Nah, yeah, I can agree, but it just sucks to see. I mean, gosh, I just know Daria's not her,
Yeah,
So
yeah, and that's all right. You're exactly right. I mean, that's the other unfortunate aspect of it, is that you're in a fight like that with a person like this. So
yeah.
yeah, it definitely casts an odd shadow over Mullins, at least at this point in her career. We'll have to see how things progress for her. But the only other point that I had was that Zelezniakova got away with a fence grab in this one too. Commentary made it out like it was a fight-altering foul. It didn't look as bad to me as they were making it out, but still, obviously, no fence grab is good. And they were saying that
Mhm.
it, altered the course of the potential takedown. I mean, she still ended up getting taken down, I believe. So, okay, I guess. But yeah, I mean, what is the fix? I think is the real bigger question when it comes to these fence grabs, because if it's in the moment, what do you do? I mean, do you just stop
Yeah.
action immediately? Like, it's a hard call to make for these referees. So I do give them a little bit of leeway, but just a general note about the fence grab.
I agree. Yeah, I it is pretty nuts, and we'll talk about the officiating here in this next fight. So get ready.
Oh yeah, this is okay. So let's move on to it. This one is a wild one. Shout out to TJF as well. Appreciate you, brother. Ismail Nardiev versus Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, I want to say something right here, right now. My respect for the Iron Turtle has risen tremendously with this fight. I mean, I always liked the guy, but now I think I put him in the same class as I put someone like Gerald Mearshart, where it's like, yeah, he might not be the champion level guy. He might not be a world ender who's going to go out there and put on the craziest, like, classic performance, get finishes, be on top of the cage, pounding his chest kind of thing. But he has true fucking grit. And
Mhm.
that is something that a guy named Adolfo Bellato can take a note from. Like,
Yeah.
you want to see what an actual fucking fighter looks like when they're in a situation that is less than favorable. You look at the Iron Turtle and how he conducted himself with this one, and maybe you take a look in the mirror at yourself and see if you are of the same caliber.
Yeah, I would like to first note that I thought I was almost galaxy brained because I thought Ishmael was possible to get a finish somehow, some way, even though he's not someone that does. And I was wrong, but I mean I think the situation was close enough to warrant something. But yes, Jung Young Park, the Iron Turtle, is a fucking savage. I would like to point that out because what happened in this fight, so There was more there was fence grabs and stuff before. Well, first the fight started. It was actually really good on the feet. Ishmael was looking really fucking good,
Good
and then
volume from Ishmael early.
yeah, and then Park initiated some grappling, and I think there was some fence grabs before.
It was an eye poke.
Oh, eye poke. Okay, yes. Which actually was I want to say this was pretty bad because it was like raked across the eye, but it did they didn't give it time like it was bad or anything. But like in the replay, I was like, dang, he like got the eyeball with like his, or maybe this is the one where it was like the leather. But either way,
Well, the
um,
first one was like a glancing eye, yeah, like kind of brushed the eye kind of thing. Not a major one. They kind of just fought on right after that. It was round 2 when the thing started to really heat
yeah.
up here with the fouls.
And then so Ishmael gets him up against the cage somehow. Jung Young's down on one knee, and then Ishmael blasts him with a fucking knee right across the eye. Celebrates as if he won because the ref breaks it up. He gets on top of the cage and he's done. He's the king. He's done it all. Woo. That is not the case though. The referee has stopped the fight because it was an illegal strike. Jung Young Park had a knee down, and I do often talk about, don't play the game, be up or down. If you want to be in the middle, I think, all fair is play. But this was pretty nuts. He definitely tried to fucking kill this dude. So
Well, and the thing was too is that it wasn't like he was doing it to like, because I know what you're talking about with the halfway, up or
yeah,
down kind of thing. This was in transit for him. Like, I mean, he had just gotten back to the cage. He was kind of like it was going to be what would have been the next position. However, this dumbass Nardiev knees Park directly in the eye socket. This was as blatant a foul as you could possibly imagine. And this guy Nardiev has the nerve to be asking the referee. He says, "Oh, yeah, what he had a knee down, brother. You were standing right the fuck in front of him. His
mhm,
knee was within your eye shot when you went to throw your knee. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like you threw your knee, his knee was down. You could see it from the position that he was in. How could you possibly think that he was not on a knee?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then so they bring in the doctors, and from the point of view that we have as the audience, the eye is swollen. The eye is swollen shut. It looks disgusting.
Was
It's got a
fucked.
cut, I'm like, all right, there's no way he's going to continue. The doc's coming in. He's not going to be able to see. Somehow, after a lengthy amount of time, they get the translators over, and Jung Young is ready to go. By the time the fight starts, the eye's just like good. Like I thought it was like swollen and stuff, but like I don't know if he was just embellishing it a little more. Obviously, he got need in the eye, so you're
Well,
probably gonna squint. But
so no, okay. What happened with that, at least from the way that I saw it, was that the difference with that was that he got cut as well, and I don't know if the cut came from the knee or if it came from the eye poke that started off the second round, because that was the
no, it came
second.
from the knee for sure.
Yeah, it probably did. So I mean, like, either way though, that's I think what kind of like made it look a little bit worse was that like it was all the redness around the eye, the swelling of the eye, the cut, which would put leaking some blood into the eye. Because yeah, by the end of the fight, you could definitely see that the eye was open and able to be used and stuff. But he did blatantly say, I mean, like Park said through his translator, he was like, he can't see out of that eye.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
was a
It
little bit
was
crazy.
It was definitely wonky. Also, they did patchwork to it. Like, and then
Yeah,
they also were telling him, like, no, no, you can't do that. Like, he was like wiping it with a cloth, right? And then he was about to put gauze and stuff and start fixing it up, but they were like, no, 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 he's like going back in, like, don't do that.
right.
And he's like, oh, like the fucking, and then he started wiping the blood off of him. He's like, all right, I guess I have nothing else to do. Fucking cut, man. But anyway, Jung Young goes back in there. The referee deducts 2 points
The
from Nerdiev.
rare.
Yeah, 2 points. The last time this happened, did you catch this?
Yes, the last time what John Jones versus Anthony Smith. Yeah,
Ain't
absolutely.
that something?
Ain't it
And
something indeed.
yep, and he still lost. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah, well, I mean, this was such an odd situation because this really, and if you're going by the letter of the law, this should have just been a straight DQ.
Yeah,
He could not see out of the eye. He said he could not see out of the eye. This Azerbaijani doctor did not know how the protocol goes, so
he don't
he's
speak Mandarin, dude. Oh, sorry, it's Korean.
Korean, yeah. But either way, that wasn't even that. The fact that so you bring up a good point with that. You have the doctor, you've got the referee, you've got Jung Young Park, you've got Jung Young Park's translator, and then the cut man. So you've got 5 people all huddled around in this corner, all trying to figure out what the hell is supposed to happen. And you also have the referee going over to Herb Dean, who is like the ringside officiating overseer, and was saying like, what do I do? What can I do? And Herb Dean's like, bro, you got this. You're going
Yeah.
through,
Herb's answer is like, "You got it, dude. I mean, it's all up to you. This is your cage, dude." He's like, "I don't know what to do." Herb's like, "You got it. You got it." Like, you can hear Herb on the mic too. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, this is Lucas Pisacki, who was the same referee as in the Daria and Melissa fight, who did not take, or excuse me, the Irina and Claudia fight, who did not take the point away for the kicks to the groin. But here, I think he actually made the right call, because if the doctor was not going to stop it, there is a reason it's called stoppage due to doctor's recommendation. You know what I mean? The doctor
Yeah.
obviously did not know that was what needed to happen, him giving the recommendation to stop it. So if the fight was going to go on, I think Pisacki actually made a pretty decent call here with a 2-point deduction.
Well, it's pretty funny because as soon as that happened, I knew for a fact, and we'll talk about it right now. The scorecards are going to be fucked. Like, what are
Oh
they
yeah.
even going to do about this? 2 points, and if you even saw the scorecards, I don't know if you saw. Two judges gave Nurdiev the second round where he got the illegal strike.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty wild.
I don't know, man. This one was a wonky one.
Yeah.
All around, they were doing some crazy shit.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, basically, after the debacle with the illegal strike here, fight resumes, clinch heavy second round. After all of that, this moron Nardiev probably would have won the round if he hadn't been doing some dumb shit. But you're saying that he did from a couple of these refs, or these judges rather. So all right, well, that's kind of wild. But round 3, I thought, was some vintage Iron Turtle. He gets the takedown, smothering control, as Nardiev was completely gassed out at that point, which is pretty crazy if you think about it, because he had a whole hell of a lot of time to stand around and do nothing. You would have thought he would have caught his breath, but no, he was completely gassed. Turtle kept the control for the whole round. I did look cleared up at that point.
I mean, it was pretty funny. You want to talk about him gassing out? We were genuinely discussing, like, it does take a lot of energy to run over to the cage, get on top, yell,
Felder said that. Yeah, Felder
it-
was saying the same thing, that he was like, yeah,
yeah.
he might have gassed himself out just getting on top of the cage and yelling. I mean,
No, I think what was actually really funny about this performance is it wasn't one of the performances. Obviously, there was something crazy that happened, but when it came back to the fight, it wasn't like, oh man, like something. I don't know. The fight that Iron Turtle put on was brutal. I mean, for what it was like a gruesome rest of the fight, 2.5 or a round and a half. He was just laying on him. He was just like, there was a point where Nurdiev was like in a seated position with his knees up to his chin, and like Iron Turtle's laying on him. Like, it did not look fun. I'll say that. So I thought this was a great comeback win. And it was honestly, I didn't sound like I was as big of a fan, because I thought Nurdiev had the potential to get the finish, which who knew it was going to try to be this way. But Iron Turtle is definitely somebody that is very, very good. The record is deceiving.
yeah, I mean, I think that this fight, in addition to showing the grit of the Iron Turtle, also should show you why you can never count him out in these fights. Like, and there's a
Mhm.
reason that these lines are often close with him. I mean, this one was not super, super close. I mean, pretty close, plus 150 and minus 180. It's kind of crazy that he was even the favorite to me. Like when it came to this, because I think that a lot of times people look at him. He's not an imposing figure. He's not physique wise, extremely impressive. He's unassuming, is the way that I would describe the Iron Turtle here. But what he does in there is he will find the way to wear down his opponent and attack the vulnerabilities to the point that the other person just has to crumble. And I think that that's like, I would love to see the Iron Turtle in a 5-rounder. And I know that
Mhm.
that sounds crazy. It's like, oh, you want to see this guy in a main event. It's like, yeah, it's unfortunate that sometimes there aren't more 5-rounders that aren't main events, but like, I would like to see like how that would even look, just because like you see what he does throughout the course of 3 rounds, and how like the opponent looks in round 1 versus how they look in round 3. It's like having those 2 extra rounds just to see how far he can take that progression, I think would be interesting.
Yeah, some would say he should get a finish within 3 rounds. There's a lot of people who could do that, but I like these performances. They are pretty grindy. 5 rounds is probably warranted at some point. I don't know against who, but excuse me. I think he's definitely a decent name to keep an eye out for. If you like fighting, this dude is one of those guys that kind of just brings something different that you don't see. So
Yeah, well, and you're definitely right. I mean, finishes are obviously ideal, so it would be nice to see him actually get those as well. I think it's one of the few elements of his game that is lacking is just being able to actually finish these fights. That'd be nice. And you're right. I mean, like, yeah, maybe he would not necessarily be like, like who would make sense for him, but like at the point that we're at in history with the way that the quality of these cards have been, it's not out of the question to see him in a 5 rounder. You know what I mean?
yeah, I don't mind, to be honest.
Yeah. So any which way, like I said, a tremendous amount of respect for the guy. This is what a warrior looks like. He was not out of this fight, even when he probably could have easily taken the easy way out. And this would have absolutely been a DQ. No two ways about it. If he had said he couldn't continue, and which he kind of literally did, but
Yeah.
whatever. Um, you know, it,
I love those moments where it's like, no, I can't. Like, I definitely can't see, and the ref and the coach are like, he's good, he's good, he's good, he's good. We're getting him back in there. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, either which way though, he goes back out, shows what the heart of a fighter actually looks like, and that I very, very much appreciate. So, shout out to him. And to cap it all off, I will throw Toby up here just to say, if you don't fuck with the Iron Turtle, I don't fuck with you.
I think what's key to note is if they would have done if they would have somehow got to the end of the round and they would have done what they did to Henry Cejudo kind of deal, and they just went to the judges. Have it with it happened last week too. With the DQ, they just went to the judges, right?
Yeah, yes, I think so. I think that's how that became well, no. Last week they said it was because it was unintentional. So it was no contested because of that. But I think that was pretty much to make up for the fact that that was a whole weird circumstance because it
Yeah,
was intentional, but he was flopping. So I think
true,
that was,
true.
but for this one, it wouldn't have gone to the judges because it wasn't over halfway through the fight. This all happened in the first half of the fight.
I think this was the second round.
It was the second round, but it wasn't halfway through the second round.
Splitting hairs probably, but yeah, true.
That's the rules.
But
We know
either
the
way,
rules are malleable in this
what
sport,
the point I wanted to make is funny enough. If they would have ended up going to decision after that, Nurdiev would have won because they gave him the second round based,
But I don't
off
think
of
I
what.
think I think it would have been right. If they had done it that way, it probably would have been that. But because it was a blatant foul, then it shouldn't have gone to decision. You know
True,
what I mean? It should have just
true.
been a DQ because he knew exactly what he was doing with throwing the strike. Even if he claimed he didn't know that the knee was down, oh fucking well, you still did it.
Yeah.
So anyway, very weird situation with all of that, as we have just outlined. But I think that the conclusion was the correct one in the end. So
Mhm.
good times, I guess. All right. Featured prelim of this event was Oban Elliott versus Seok Young Ko. The Korean Tyson, they call him. He did a whole lot of wrestling in this fight for that nickname. What'd you think?
I definitely agree that he did not showcase that he was anything like Tyson. I don't know who gave him that name. Maybe he's gonna come out here and strike the next time, but this was a good old wrestle fucking if I've ever seen one.
Oh,
Like
buddy.
that guy here, he came in here with a plan. And Oban Elliott is somebody who's trustworthy, as a veteran in the sport. Like obviously he's gonna get to the belt. Like he's not somebody that's gonna go down easy and he's gonna put up a decent scrap. I did not see it here. It was an unfortunate performance because Oban did not look like himself. And he posted a video after and he was pretty down about his performance as well. And for a guy that stepped in off the contender series to come in and mop you like this, 30-27, like there was no opportunity he had. It wasn't like a brutal beatdown, but he had no opportunity to do anything. He was manhandling Oban every time, flipping him, throwing him on the ground, controlling him, flowing with all the maneuvers, and it was great.
No, that was the best way to say it, is that he didn't have the opportunity, because really what was happening here was Ko with a ton of control time, Elliott not able to strike. That I think is the big point. Not able to free himself from the control. So this was one long round of Ko moving Oban here, there, and everywhere. Good activity on the ground, I suppose, but I mean, like, it was just, you're over here now, you're over here now, you're wrestled here now. It was just like, I mean, the entire length of the octagon, just they took a world tour of the cage, and it was just all Ko. I mean, Oban got cut in the third, so I guess that there was something there, but it's really mostly the bigger note to me was not even the cut. It was just the fact that Oban was accepting the positions so much in this fight. So deserved win for Ko. Elliott had nothing on the ground at all except for a choke at the very end that didn't go anywhere. So, I mean, yeah, nice win for those reasons, but not the most impressive debut I've ever seen. Serviceable against an opponent who was not going to do much to oppose what he was doing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's just not too much to say about it. It was just disappointing from Oban, and Ko is somebody to look out for. But like you said, there was nothing there on the ground other than the controlling. So if somebody has actually good BJJ, they can make it interesting and flip the script and do something to make the position change to get a good scramble. But Oban just did not showcase that.
Yeah, and really, I think that this exposes a massive hole in Elliott's game. I mean, like if it really does signal if a guy from the Contender Series can come in and muscle you around on the ground for all 3 rounds, then you have a major flaw that is exploitable by anybody who's at a higher level than that. So you need to get yourself really a crash course in what to do on the ground and how to get yourself out of these situations. Because if all you have is that one-shot knockout power, then this is what you're going to get anytime that you got somebody who is going to do this to you.
And to be clear, Oban Elliott does not have that one-shot knockout power. He is a decision merchant at the end of the day. He got 1 knockout in the 3rd round, and shout out to him for it. But the skills have to be there to keep it on the feet and for you to be able to thrive on the feet. I mean, obviously you didn't do great on the feet here, but like there's got to be moments where you make it your game. And if you're going to let him outstrike you and take you down, well, you're cooked, brother. I mean, your whole game is striking and you couldn't even get that off. Like it was unfortunate. And I don't think Oban is like somebody where you should throw him out the window. Like, oh, well, I mean, if he ain't got this in his game, he's screwed. I think it's got to be an off night type of thing. He had to have just not come in right, because he genuinely locks in. Like he's not somebody that you would say is like, okay, inconsistent as him. You know what you get out of Oban. So I don't know.
I mean, fair. If that's the case, I'll give him that leeway. I will extend that to him. He's always been someone that I've thought talked a lot bigger than what he was able to back up. He's yeah. Go ahead.
He's a WWE guy. Like he's a character. He's
You got to
doing
back that.
promos.
That's the difference, though, and that's why I love this sport. Is because when you talk that kind of a game, that WWE style talk, you need to go out there and actually back it up. There's no predetermined scripting to allow you to, excel in this sport. Like you can talk the biggest game that you want. You need to go out there and actually be that guy. This was a guy that came in off the Contender Series in a fight that was pretty close, if I recall. I don't think I don't think he finished on the Contender Series. I think he barely skated by with a decision and was talking about, I'm going to be a champion. I'm that guy, blah, 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 this and that. He does have a backstory that I think is, I can empathize with and all that. I mean, he lost his father at a young age, blah, 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 those kinds of things. Yes, I respect that element of his life and overcoming that. But to go to come in off of a decision win on the Contender Series, saying that I will be the next champion, and then you have this, it's like we talk about the narratives in this sport often. You're creating a narrative for yourself that is you're writing checks with your mouth that your ass cannot cash.
See, but now you're missing the plot. This is just part of his character arc. It's just
redemption arc incoming.
Yeah, I mean, come on, like that. You can't just win everything. I mean, you got to have a story built around you. I mean, he knows how to play the business. He can't be undefeated forever. Like, come on. So I don't know.
Hey,
it sucks to see him lose, though. Like Oban is. I mean, as they said, which was very scandalous because it was clearly untrue, that Oban was the biggest betting favorite on the card. Was not it wasn't even true. There was bigger favorites than him. But either way, this was a sad performance. I thought he was going to come out here and do us right, but didn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to have some performances that really sway me on him because, like I said, I've always thought that he was, not able to back up his talk. So I want to see him actually do that and not be the decision merchant that you've described him as. And I guess to that point, you can give him a little bit of credit for not getting finished because there might have been some times where, if he had not conducted himself in a savvy way, then maybe, there might have been more submission potential there. But I'm going to need to see more out of Oban Elliott going forward, just in a holistic way. I mean, even win or loss, I need to see better.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, let's move on to main card then, shall we? Mohamed Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. Nothing happened in this fight. Chase, your thoughts?
I'm glad you said that because as soon as I saw it on the screen, well, I was actually seeing it a little ahead of time. Like, man, I'm trying to think of like what to say about this fight. There was a wheel kick that Naimov threw that landed, and it kind of rocked Grod, but he kind of laughed and had a good time about it. Bogdan Grod then proceeded to throw 7 wheel kicks to try to get him back throughout the fight. Missed every single one of them
Yeah,
except the one that went to the body. I'll make that note.
true.
And then he also threw a spinning back fist, I think, at one point to try to throw him off, but it did not work. I also think this was a little bit of a robbery, but like you said, nothing happened, so it was kind of hard to judge. I don't know. Sucks.
Yeah, I mean, the notes that I have about it was about the hook kick. Excuse me, the hook kick that wobbled Grod in the first. Smart of Grod to tie him up to get his bearings back. So fight IQ on his side on that one. A lot of clinching, a lot of ranged point striking in this fight. A lot of Grod taking Naimov down and him getting immediately back up or reversing position. A fight is bad when they're giving a preview of the rest of the card mid-fight. That I don't think I have ever seen before, bro. That was something new to me because they were, you'll see them doing like, catch the Ultimate Fighter, or this product is coming out, this and that. Shout out to our sponsors, but they were literally running down the rest of the main card during this fight, which I was like, man, that is bad news. I also do think that there is a case for Grod winning this fight, but it was so bad that I don't really care about the petty theft. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Bogdangrad is still exciting though. I think going forward he'll have some potential. I don't know why this was not the fireworks it should have been.
Well, I think that he's another one for different reasons, but it's a similar note to Oban Elliott, where it's like, take it to the flip side of the coin with that, where it's like, I like this guy. I remember him from the Contender Series. I liked that fight on the Contender Series. I thought it was a war that he went to on there. So I coming into this, I had like some support for him. I'm like, oh, I remember that guy. He's got a distinct face. You can't really
Mhm.
forget that. I posted on
Yeah, I
Instagram that
saw that. That was hilarious.
that close up of him was all right. Maybe don't need to get the camera so into his nostrils, but So anyway, the point is that like I was rooting for the guy coming into this thing, but I need to see more. I need to see a greater urgency to actually win. We talk about that killer instinct. Killer instinct would have been something that if Daria Zalesniakova had, she could have had a win on her record, a finish on her record rather. So it's like I just want to see like a greater intensity out of some people. He's definitely one of them where I think that if you had that, he could be extremely entertaining and effective. Like, just have that like instinct to go out there and actually like really put on the performance that you are capable of with an urgency to finish.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. There's just not too much more to say, but I am still excited to see what Bogdan got in store for us at featherweight.
Yeah, and as far as the Naimov side goes, I guess shout out to Big Onk. Didn't shout him out earlier, but appreciate you coming in and making a good point here that Naimov is now 5-1 in the UFC. So, I mean, good, but this kind of performance, what does that do for him? That would be my question. It's like, now, okay, yeah, great, 5-1 in the organization, good, solid standing, but you have a fight like this where I mean, I've already forgotten that it happened, and I'm talking about it right now. So, the average fight fan is, this is definitely not sticking out to them.
If you want to talk about somebody getting towards the top of the division, you have to be able to expand outside of the region. Naimov is one of these guys that I think I've only seen fight in the desert kind of deal. So if you want to be champion, you got to be able to Ankalaev, a lot of people who are, Muslim or of the culture, they should take note from Ankalaev. He's actually carrying himself very, very well, doing a lot of things the same way that they should be. But if they want championship aspirations, you got to do certain things. And I think it's key. So,
Do you think that the fans care about Ankalaev, though?
I mean, that's not about the fans. I'm talking about the fighters themselves. If they want to be a champion, you got to be able to do certain things, and that is go perform in other places and be the
Oh,
guy.
okay. To that point. Okay, sorry. I think
Yes.
I lost the plot there for a second.
Yeah,
But
my
okay,
bad. My
okay.
bad.
No. You're good. You're fine. Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough then. Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that for sure. Yeah. I mean, get out that, bro. If you're doing that well and you're racking up wins, then fight as often. And if there are going to be fights like this, you can do that all day, basically,
I mean,
right? I mean,
he could literally go lose in the Apex to Melly Costa next week. But if he wins, then boom, we're talking. Like now
right.
he can get a main event somewhere kind of deal. But
Gotcha.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, All right, then I guess we'll see if he actually does that. But nice win for the Tajikistani. Of course, Tajikistan stands behind him very strongly. That's always the clip that they talk about of that entire soccer arena all watching his fights and cheering for him and stuff. So the whole country's behind him. Congratulations to Tajikistan.
I feel bad. They must have never seen Josh Van fight. Jesus Christ.
That's a different country, my man.
I'm just saying, like, yo, they get a soccer stadium full. They should watch Josh Van. I bet they go crazy. This Naimov dude, snoozer.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll get somebody better. But either way, moving on to finally a legitimate banger on this card, potential fight of the year, I would say. Nazim Sadikov versus Nicholas Mata. I did not think that Nicholas Mata had a fight like this in him, but I am very glad I was wrong. What do you think?
I think my one, I was wrong to assume that Nazim Sadikov had a finishing level that was only that had a certain ceiling when it came to this sport. I do believe now, with the resume and the finishes that he's racked up, a couple doctor stoppages and stuff like that, he might be the type of dude that can get finishes at the high level. And certain people, they get to the high level and they just can't finish the high level guys anymore. But some people also, Ilya Taporia, I mean, they can just maul people. And this dude is really good. Like, he is damn good. I think he's more of a comparable to like Conor McGregor, but his style is a little more slick. He's in and out. He's very light. He's got the combos. He's got the counters. He's very, very good. When it comes to my what I thought was going to happen in this fight, I actually think I gave a very good assessment. Mata was going to walk him down. The kicks were not going to be there as much because he's going to be on the back foot, but I did not think Sadikov was going to be as deadly from the counter and off the back foot as he was. And there's one moment in the first round you'll instantly know. It's quick. It's so quick you don't even see it. I was even trying to tell my dad, I'm like, watch this moment right here, because in my mind when I saw it in slow motion, that's what I remember seeing. So I'm telling my dad, boom, watch, you're going to miss it. And I watched it in real time and I'm like, holy shit, the elbow that split Mata's, like, it was so fast, it was so quick. Mata felt it. And he had a good moment. Like, that was a good one. Now let's get back to banging. Pause. And but the blood started pouring, and I actually think this happened earlier because I wanted to point out ESPN, their shitty fucking service. I'm watching this fight. ESPN goes down. I have to hit refresh. It takes a little bit to reload. I come back. Nazim Sadikov is face down on the mat after apparently a large combination from Mata in the first
Oh,
round.
you missed
I
that
missed the whole. I missed
that
the whole
crazy.
thing.
That
I
was
had to
like a
rewatch it
20
this
shot
morning.
combo. Yeah.
It was definitely pretty nasty in the rewatch. In live time, I missed this 100%. I come back and I have Nazim down on the mat. But either way, when you watch it, it is a crazy flurry from Mata. Later on in the fight, obviously the elbow from Sadikov comes. That was the highlight for me in that. And then you get into the second round, and it is brutal. These guys are slugging. They're getting into the clinch. They're throwing uppercuts. Sadikov is just having a way with him towards the end of this one. Like, I actually think it was pretty close about halfway. Mata started to slow down, but he still had like a second. He had a second win kind of thing. This finish was up. It was so up and close and in your face. These guys were up against the cage. They were throwing nasty elbows. There was a time that Sadikov landed 3 elbows in the clinch, like real nasty. And then Sadikov puts him up against the cage, lands clean strikes, lands one that knocks him down and out, lands some extra ones on top. And I actually want to make a funny note here that when the judges called this fight, they said it was by technical knockout. Are you fucking kidding me? He fucking flatlined him. I don't care
Yeah.
if he was sitting down. It's because his body was lifeless in that position. Like, ridiculous. I don't
Yeah,
know.
this was a KO. Yeah, I mean, going back through the sequence here, how this fight all played out. Couple good feeler shots on both sides through the first 2 minutes. It was a little bit slow at the very, very beginning, but we were in for a big ramp up. Mata unloads a hellish combo against the cage. That's the one that you missed out on, but that had to have been like 16 shots in a row. It was a lot. Sadikov actually dropped off of that one, and things looked like it looked like it could have been finished right then and there. Thank God the referee was doing a good job and realized that he was intelligently defending. And somehow, I mean, this is credit to Sadikov. He keeps his wits about him throughout taking all of those shots, collects himself, all while being punched repeatedly, and then somehow comes back fresh with a nice combo of his own, followed by a great elbow, then a nice head kick, several great headshots, and 2 elbows right at the horn. Very exciting for this first round. Sadikov in the second round, right back to it. Elbow, like you were talking about, opened up the face nicely. That's when Mata was like, "Oh yeah, you got me on that one," and it showed because that crack right down the middle. I'd said it. It was. If you ever seen the movie Psycho, there's a shot of somebody who gets something to the face, and it reminded me of that. Just one, like a straight line of blood down the face. I was like, all right, that definitely was a solid shot. But then my favorite part of this fight was when they went head to head, guard to guard. Sadikov sticking with the elbows. Finally, he gets him backed up to the cage, lands some lethal blows, puts Mata out. This was tremendous, this fight. Sadikov might be one of my favorite fighters right now. His combos are amazing. His elbows are amazing. His kicks are fantastic. He did get a couple of decent kicks off as well within combos, which I was like, you're talking about how he had to be on the back foot. Yeah, he was at a good amount of times, but even within that, he still somehow figured out ways to make the movement work so that he could get himself into good position for kicking. His poise, his cardio, ridiculous for lightweight as well. I'm telling you, this guy is the real deal, and I'm a big fan.
I definitely agree. Yeah, no, he's got the movements, he's got the power, he's got the IQ, it seems. I mean, he's just slick when it comes to everything. He's a little bit like Mauricio Hufi too. That's kind of what I see out of him. But I don't know, man. This was definitely a good fucking fight. I want to make a point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that they got the fight of the night, 50,000, and Dana doubled it.
Yes, I did see that.
Because all the other fights were fucking shit. I
Right.
would like to make a note that you want to just give these guys $100,000, Dana White. Where's Josh Van's money, dude? I'm like coming for the pockets here because this is ridiculous. I know these dudes deserved it. Honestly, do they deserve more than 50,000? Probably not. But like it was a great fight, but like is it more great than any other fight that's the great fight of all time? Like is this Yuri and Glover? Yuri and Glover could have made 500 fucking $1,000 each night, whatever you want to say. But I think the bonuses, I think it was nice for him. This was a really good fight.
Well, it was funny in that moment when they were talking about it because they were like, "You're giving double the bonuses to these guys, but what about the bonus for Miktabek and his performance, which we'll talk about here in a minute?" And Dana's response to that was, "Oh, the guy that came in 10 pounds overweight," and we'll talk about that as well. So,
Yes.
yeah, I would kind of tend to agree. I mean, it is unfortunate that there weren't a lot more like worthy performances on this card to give to other people. So, that's really on the other fighters on this card more than anything else. I think maybe one of the women might have actually deserved it, to be perfectly honest, but that's, maybe just my opinion, I suppose.
One of the what you mean Daria.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, or Claudia, maybe. I mean, she blooded it up pretty goddamn good, man. I mean, either way, whatever. Neither of them get it. I understand that, and it's fine. But yeah, this fight was really, really good. It would have been like it wouldn't have been heralded as highly as it was like had it been like if this was on UFC 300, this would have just been another fight, you know what I mean? But like it would have been a good fight, but it would have been amongst many other great fights. So
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? It's like this, I think, really speaks to the level of quality of the fights that we're getting currently, and that kind of frightens me a little bit because we have been in a period right now, and the conversation we've talked about it on the show a couple of times, how the quality of these cards has been sort of mixed and a little bit towards the lower side lately. I'm hoping that changes going forward at some point. The UFC wants to put on a lot of events, and because of that, the quality level kind of goes all over the place. We've seen sometimes at the Apex some really good performances and some really good cards even within that dynamic, but I want to see a little bit more consistency in good fights. So hopefully that will be the case going forward at some point. But either way, with a card like this certainly was the standout moment of it. So shout out to both of these guys for being able to put on a show like that.
Yeah, 100%. I think I did like this one.
Yeah, and
I
I
would
would.
actually
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
No,
would
no, no,
actually
good.
like to note, like, Nicholas Mata, like you said at the beginning, is like, I don't remember how you said it, but either way, there was a guy in the Discord, Gabe, he's a pretty chill dude, and he was like, "Nicholas Mata, he's one of my favorites." And in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, out of all the people to pick to be your favorites, how do you pick this guy? Like, how do you come across Nicholas Mata? But after this performance, all right. Okay, fair. All's fair.
Yeah, no, and that you literally were going right where I was going because I was going to say, yeah, on Mata's side, I wanted to acknowledge that it was very impressive to see him in a fight like this, where a lesser fighter or somebody who was of the caliber that I think we were kind of describing him as, based on what we had seen previously from him, would have been just demolished and steamrolled. Like he actually went out there and made this a very competitive fight and a very even fight for a lot of it, at least through that first round. So I give him a lot of credit as well. He's definitely somebody that I will start respecting a little bit more going forward.
100%.
So good times there. Oh, and then actually, the one last thing I did want to mention about this was that what a great moment on the mic for Nazim Sadikov in front of the Azerbaijani crowd. This dude doing it in front of the home country for the first time that they'd ever been there. I do it for you. I do it for my country. The crowd going wild. I was like, that's just a nice feel good moment in this sport in general, I would say.
Yeah, him doing that in front of Ray Longo was really nice. I like that.
Yes, yes, indeed. And, a shout out to Lazy Bed over there saying that it is always nice to see Longo getting a W. And we've seen Sarah Longo doing some great things, over the years now. And I think that the respect level needs to always be put on the Sarah Longo camp because those
Yeah,
guys are
so
turning out champs.
watch out for their GFL team because he's an owner. So don't worry, guys.
Any day now. Any day now. All right. Well, let's move on to the next fight here. Also a good performance, a little bit more one-sided, but an entertaining one in my opinion. Miktabek Orobai versus Tafik
Orabai, get it right.
Orobai.
No, Orabai.
Orabai. Sorry. Yes. Yes.
It's so much easier and it's so much better.
All right. Well, whatever. Miktabek versus Tafik Musayev.
Yes.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I thought this one was great. I wanted to know off rip is I'm sick and tired. I know Mictabek's one of my favorites, and if I didn't care, I wouldn't say anything, but I care. I'm tired of him showing up fight week and they're just like, catch weight it is, guys. He can't make it, no reason, no explanation behind it. No, like, hey, this is the second time this has happened. This is the reason why I'm bringing it up is because Miktabek just apparently just shows up at 165 and he just puts a gun to the fucking opponent. He's like, we are fucking fighting at 165. I don't care what you say. I'm making the belt here.
Oh,
Like,
well, I'm glad that you say that though, because I posted a tweet about this before the event started, and I'm not huge on Twitter, but occasionally if I got an opinion, I'll throw it out there. And what I said about this was that it's almost goes to the point I was just making about the quality level of these events, where it's like you have a mixed bag of the quality of the fights themselves, and you also need to keep these fights on the card in order to make the length of the broadcast that you have. So how often now, with the fact that we have so many events happening, are we going to just see these fighters show up at any weight and the fight just still goes on? Because this is an egregious weight miss. And like you're saying, it's like, it takes two to tango. Yeah. I mean, Tofik, I guess, got to come in overweight as well. So okay, but like if he was going to make weight, this is really not fair to him at all. And and it's also not fair to us. I mean, we don't have a 165 division. So what, like, so now this fight just becomes a fight in the ether that doesn't really make any sense to anything. And I don't like that. So and I don't know what the organization really does about it, because on the one hand, what do you can punish him? Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can, he's going to get, I guess, if it's a catch weight, he's not going to get docked any of the
yeah,
purse. But
I was gonna say because Deadly Pube said 15% person up. I didn't hear that he actually got docked any deduction. I think he's just making whatever he did because, like you said, it's a catch weight. Like I don't think he didn't miss weight. They agreed to a new weight. So
yeah, so I mean, if it was 15%, then okay, there's some kind of penalty there. But like, how much penalty can you actually do when you still need the fight? I guess is my point.
I think Tofik should have watched episode 3 of The Ultimate Fighter because he would have learned exactly how to make money in this opportunity here.
Hell yeah.
You tell him $12,000, 1,000 for every pound, and we'll call it a day. And if Orabai can't do it, well, you better fucking sweat it out, my man. Because if not, I mean, we're already going to see him at 170. It's a given. He is not going to be at 155. He's never been at 155, damn near. But into the performance itself.
Sure.
Dominant. This dude, Miktabek, is everything that I needed him to be. He is absolutely a killer. He's a true, and when I say a gunner, it's not like he's somebody who comes out here and he throws a bunch of strikes. No, he guns for takedowns. He just puts his head down and shoots. Anytime he gets separated, he just puts his head and shoots. And Tofik is not a grappler because he did a lot of things wrong. Went for guillotines in positions he was definitely not going to get them. At the end of the day, Orabai got him in the position that he needed, isolated the arm, got the leg over the head, and started twerking on the Kimura, which was crazy to see. Was Tofik's mouth wide open, screaming, and the ref not give a shit. And then he had to like get his hand out and actually tap because the ref, but he was stuck, like he was
Yeah,
really fucked up. So the fact the ref didn't stop on the verbal tap was nuts because he was yelling, he
for
was
sure.
screaming.
Yeah, yeah, no, most definitely. If I had said that Sadikov and Mata was a potential fight of the year contender, I would say that this might actually be a submission of the year contender, in my opinion. Um, to go through it a little bit, crazy takedown defense for Messiah early. This was another one where he was jumping on Orolbai's hip there. Kind of cool to see the balance and all that. Still gets taken down anyway, unfortunately, but great chain wrestling from Orolbai. Transitions were really fantastic, especially when Musayev was able to get back to his feet, right back into the clinch he went, right back down he goes. I thought that was really nice. Musayev reverses the clinch, has his fingers in Orolbai's glove at one point. Ref takes the position away, which was actually kind of lucky for Musayev at that point. He was like, probably would have liked to have been out there striking, but not with Orolbai, who wants to go right back into the takedown, which he ends up doing by catching a kick, which I thought was really impressive as well. And then the setup of the Kimura is really what I wanted to get to, because if you watch it point by point, within, like, watching it in real time was really nice because I saw it coming and I was like, oh, he's setting that up. Oh, he really is setting that up. Oh, he's going to get it. You know what I mean? It was one of those where it's like you see 1, 2, 3 happen all at once and you're like, yeah, that was it was really nice to watch. The setup was really perfect. He, just had the arm, he got into the right position, trapped the other arm under him, like you were saying. That's why the arm was unable to make the tap, and then just cranked that thing beautifully. And it was really, really, like, if you want to look at a picture perfect Kimura, that was definitely it.
100%. And you're talking about submission of the year, brother. Kayla just did that last week. So,
But a little slightly different, I would say, because she didn't have to go through as much of the motions to get there. I mean,
she's
like,
strong as fuck.
she certainly is. No, of course. And I mean, and I guess maybe this is a little bit of an anti-Kayla bias, only because she's so good with that it's like, Kayla getting a Kimura, that's a given. But no, you're right. It should be more,
Yeah, equality.
exactly. And I really should not be anti-Kayla in any respect because I'm such a fan. So, but yeah, no, I thought that, like, if you look at the, like, that one versus that one, like, this was just because it's like the angle that he got it at and the crank that he had on it. Like, I think that
It's what Islam did to Dan Hooker.
say what?
It's what Islam did to Dan Hooker.
Yeah. That's true too. Yeah, that very similar. So, I just thought it was a really beautiful set of motions that Orolbai went through, even with all that extra weight on him, which was unfortunate. So, a little bit of a tainting of this, a little bit of a stain on this win for him. But either way, still a very nice submission and a very nice win.
It's going to be interesting to see if Orabai has been trying to skate by at 55 because he knows at 70 he's not going to be able to get by. Now he's forced his hand into 170 basically, and he might not have as easy of a time grappling. We know his striking is not the best because Rebecca is able to just butcher him on the feet, but it's not the worst. It's definitely it's passable, especially for like a debut 170 matchup type deal. Like, we'll see what happens. But for now, 170, you go, man. You got to.
Yeah, it's necessary, bro. I mean, just out of respect to the sport, I would say at this point, it's like, dude, you can't be doing this time and time again. Like,
Yeah.
You really got to be a more professional fighter if you're going to be a professional fighter. So, the only other thing that I wanted to ask about, and I don't know, you're more keyed in sometimes to the ear on the ground with these kinds of things, but when Buff announced him as the winner, Orolbai, he had said Mictebek Orolbai Ulu. And I said, what is the Ulu? I thought that Buff was having a stroke for a second, but then I saw on the back of Mictebek's shirt, I guess his last name is Orolbai Ulu. And I didn't know if that was just a little extra on his name or why he had that or what that means. Maybe it's something in Kyrgyzstani, or I was
Okay.
Yeah, I said, no, none of this is translating
No,
at all. Not
I
even
have
hurrying.
no idea. I didn't catch that at all. That is pretty funny though. I
Yeah,
mean,
because
who knows?
he didn't announce him that way at the start of the fight. I actually went back to the beginning. I was like, did he say that at the beginning? And he didn't, but he did when he announced him as the winner. So anyway, I don't know. Just maybe he's got a little extra little syllable there on the end of his last name, or two syllables.
Or maybe he was having a stroke. I
Could have
mean,
been as well. Could have been as well. The stroke translated to the back of Rollby's shirt.
yep.
Anyway, all right, let's move on. Okay, moving on to the yeah. No, this wasn't the co-main. Excuse me. This was the fight before the co-main event. This is Curtis Blades and Rizvan Kuniev, a fight that had been long in the works. We had this fight scheduled and rescheduled and scheduled again. They really wanted this fight to happen. And before we get into the breakdown of it, I have to say that this fight should tell you everything you need to know about the current landscape of heavyweight, aside from John Jones / Tom Aspinall. Curtis Blades was ranked 5th in this fight. Going into this fight, I guess would still be ranked 5th or maybe 4th, depending on how they want to do the rankings after this win, quote unquote. But he barely eked out this victory, if he even won at all. And I think this says volumes when it comes to what heavyweight is made of now.
I would just like to say I'm glad that I was right on the outcome. I don't care if it was scandalous. I don't care if it wasn't the right call. Kunaev, rightfully so, did not deserve to walk in and earn the 5th rank. And I think the UFC knows this, because for the greater good of the sport, you have Curtis Blades, who's a heavyweight who actually knows mixed martial arts. He'll shoot takedowns, he'll get takedowns, he'll strike. You know, he does enough to be classified as an MMA fighter. As long as you go across the cage to Kunaev, he's just a fat guy that throws punches. That is not a good progression for the sport. For him to win and get, I don't care if he actually did. I'm glad that they didn't give it to him, because brother, this guy going forward is not it. He's gonna go lose to Hamdi next week. Like I don't see it. It's not him. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I mean, I would have been okay with this because I think that they want to shake up heavyweight badly because they know how bad heavyweight is right now. I mean, we've been talking about the state of heavyweight since we started this show over a year ago. And it has been that bad for the entire time that we've been doing the show. We've now, thankfully, of course, have the top of the division finally figured out to an extent. But aside from that, everywhere down is just this. It's these kinds of interactions here. It's sometimes fighters with a skill set that is slightly better than average going up against other guys with the same in a different capacity, and a mixed bag of results thereafter. Because my note here starting this thing off was that Curtis Blades wrestled for a lot of round 1, right? But what did it accomplish? He was cage cuddling all the time. This was cage cuddling at its finest. Curtis might be a wrestler, but what good does it do? People talk about Curtis Blades and his acumen in this department, but the man does not have a submission on his record. What is the value of Curtis Blades as a wrestler? No takedown for Curtis in round 1, so they had to strike. Rizvan holding his own when it came to the striking. You're saying he's a fat guy who throws punches. That's heavyweight right now, and yes, that is a problem. God willing, Taliesin Teixeira can be the person that maybe shakes this thing up the way that I think he might be able to, and we'll see what happens with him
Kennedy.
and Derek Lewis. Kennedy and Chezuku as well. Yep, absolutely. That's another one. But like guys like that are what we need more of. Rizvan doing okay with that. I think it would have been okay if he knocks Curtis off the pedestal at number 5 in this division.
I just don't, because you give him 5th ranked, right? Then that means he's a shot away from the title, and we know what happens to him at the title. He gets destroyed. So I think it's rightfully so we keep it with Curtis, and we give him another lap around. If we got another prospect who actually knows how to do things that are mixed martial arts related, maybe we'll give him an opportunity. But I don't know. Kunaev is, I'm telling you guys, watching him hurt my fucking eyes. Like I'm watching the UFC, which is the pinnacle of heavyweight mixed martial arts, and I see a dude's belly bouncing around. Like, Dude, they were even talking about how these guys were bulking to get to the max limit. Like I'm honestly sick of it, because if this is what you're going to do at the max limit, and you're going to be a fat slob and not even be able to finish the fight with a decent amount of energy, you don't deserve to be the 5th ranked. Like, Curtis Blades is at least a decent example. Like, a decent example.
But you say that Curtis at number 5 is to keep a guy who's not skilled enough to be in the echelon of the division out of that, right? That's the justification for that. But Curtis, he had the title shot, the interim title shot. You know, I mean, like, Curtis is coming off of fighting the best of the best, and he can't get it done. So what's the difference?
You laugh, maybe, but I will argue that it was a little bit of an early stoppage. Curtis Blades can run it back. We can get a trilogy, guys. Seriously.
That, do you want that?
Uh,
Does
sure.
anybody want that?
I would
Is
want
that
that
something
over
that the people
Kunaev.
want?
I would want that over Kunaev, dude. Seriously. This
Well,
guy.
I don't know. I thought his striking looked pretty sharp, honestly. I mean, he fucked up Curtis's eye pretty bad. We're talking about eye damage.
I actually want to bring up a great point, because Pubes is going over it right now. So Guru actually had a tweet, and I actually agree with him. After this fight happened, he said the judges got it right. Blades won the fight. You can't base the round 2 damage for the whole fight. Round 1 and 3 for Blades, and I think that is very, very accurate, because I had no problem with Blades winning. I thought he did everything that he was going to do. Yeah, he got fucked up a little bit, but like, he was still winning the fight. And the striking numbers, a little scandalous, to be honest. I think Kunaev, I think they were pretty close. They were a lot closer than 50% more, 50 more strikes or whatever. But I don't know. I think Blades is fine staying at the top of heavyweight, because he gives us a good test for what a 5th ranked person should be. If you're going to go take 5, you better be able to wrestle. You better be able to. I know Kunaev did stuff the takedowns very, very well, but he's also just some fat blob. Like, they were talking about, oh my God, look at the athleticism. Dog, are you fucking serious? Like, I don't know.
But then I don't want to hear about people like Mario Bautista in the fight with Jose Aldo then. Because that's really what this was to me. I mean, this is a great example of that exact thing. I mean, this, because you're saying round 1 and 3 were the rounds that Blades won. Round 1 didn't accomplish anything with the wrestling. Round 3, Kunaev still with, in my opinion, pretty decent striking, and Curtis not getting the takedown again. Curtis lost this fight to me, man. I mean, like, based on those things, because if you're talking about, and like you said, the striking numbers are absolutely scandalous. There's no fucking way that he had double the strikes. No fucking way. But if you're going like strikes versus inactivity due to cage clinching, then the strikes should win, in my opinion, right? I mean, that was my whole point with the Bautista and Aldo fight. It was that, yes, Bautista was clinching him up, but at the same time, Aldo wasn't doing anything to swing it in his favor. So if it's just going to be straight neutral, then it's straight neutral. Same with Curtis here, straight neutral.
I think I actually agree with Pubes. The Bautista moment, I don't think I disagree with that. I also think that Bautista won, but it was a sad realization that Jose Aldo wasn't gonna do something different. Like, but in this one, I think it was a little different, because we are in mixed martial arts. So if somebody is attempting to wrestle other than striking, I think it goes in the judge's mind like, they're doing good. Whether he got the takedowns or not, he at least initiated some other form of just trying to punch my opponent in the face, because that's all Kunaev did. And he wasn't very good at it, other than the one couple moments he had in round 2 where he busted him up.
I mean, I guess maybe I'm giving him a little bit more credit on the striking in those other rounds than other people are. But yeah, we can, we can all see it how we want to see it, I suppose. But
I just said, damage over control. It's like, okay, so you're going to give damage in 1 round over 2 rounds of control.
But that's the thing, though, is I don't think that it was. I think that the 3rd round, I think he was still doing some decent striking there. After he had Curtis's eye all fucked up, I think he was still landing pretty okay. I mean, yeah, it slowed down, but I mean, they're heavyweights. Of course it's going to slow down.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was a split decision was warranted, but I don't know. I think Blades winning is for the better, because we have a better example of what we should have at the top of the division.
I mean, fair if you want to look at it from that, 1,000-yard view of everything, then okay. But as far as the actual boots on the ground of the fight, I think that Kuniev did win. But what and I'll take it back to the 1,000-yard view as well. It's what I started this whole thing off with. This should tell you everything you need to know. The number 5 guy barely eked out a victory. I mean, a split decision win over a dude coming in off the Contender Series, like that in and of itself, I think is, you're talking about like the elites of the sport. I mean, like, if you're number 5 and this dude is just coming into the organization essentially off of the streets, this isn't even like a situation like Kai Asakura coming in as a champion in another organization. This is a dude fresh off the earliest that you can be in this organization, coming in here and doing this type of a performance. Like, that does not speak greatly of the higher levels at this division to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I hear you. Mm-hmm. This one was definitely interesting and scandalous in a lot of different ways. But other than that, I don't think I have anything more to say on it.
Fair. The only other thing I thought was funny was that Curtis was talking about after the fight concluded, I wanted to finish this fight like he wasn't in jeopardy of getting finished himself at some points. But anyway, he also did say that he ruptured his MCL and he was limping out of the cage. So hopefully he's okay. I like Curtis. I want to make that clear as well. Also, is that like I'm a fan of Curtis Blades as a person. I think he's a really good guy. As a fellow, there you go, a fellow stutterer here. I think that Curtis is somebody that has overcome his stutter in a real way and is a good example of that. So. I like Curtis as a person. I think that, looking at his performance here and a number of his performances at this point, he has been roundly unimpressive. And that I think speaks to the quality of heavyweight.
I would like to also note that sometimes DraftKings, like I said, they have a stats page with fun facts that'll let you bet based on that. And one of the fun facts was Curtis Blades has won his last 8 3-round fights in the UFC. So that was very key to me. And here we are, him winning again. So listen to the fun facts sometimes, guys.
Yeah, for real. I need to key in on this DraftKings extra stats thing that you reference occasionally, because it does sound like they come up with some good ones.
Dude, I'm telling you, sometimes the one that I reference, all the time is Michael Olajaychuk had finished the last 5 of his orthodox opponents in the first round, and that hit on Cedricus Dumas or some shit. I'm like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it.
All right, well, let's keep this train moving over here. Co-main event was Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This was an okay fight, I would say. I mean, not the most exciting on the planet, but it was nice to see Fiziev come back and actually be able to get the job done as far as the trajectory that he's had. I think Fiziev has gotten a little bit of a bum hand with some of the circumstances of some of his other fights, and he's been fighting some legitimate killers as well. So it's like he's gotten some weirdness and some losses. So it was nice to see him get a win, even if it was over Bahamondes, who I think we both think is kind of a next up guy. So that was a little unfortunate.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this one, there's not too much that I want to say about the performance other than Ignacio let me down. But I think the worst part about this is that I didn't believe in Fiziev, because I really do like Fiziev. I hope I said that, and I hope I reiterated enough that Fiziev is one of the cooler fighters. But being a dude on a 3-fight skid, it's hard for me to say that he's going to come out here and win. And I just wish I would have had more hope in him. If he was like genuinely, if he was one of my favorite fighters, I would have that type of hope. But he's just like a really cool fighter. Like he's not in the upper echelon for me. So it sucks, but I'm very happy that he got the win, because that means we get to see him in more top competitions. And he's somebody that fights different than other people, and he's a little ball of energy, and I dig it, dude. I dig it a lot.
Yeah, same. I think that he is a very high fight IQ fighter, and that I respect greatly. Round 1 of this thing was a bit of a feel out. So much stance switching on both sides in this fight throughout all of it, but the very even first round, nice close range striking for Fiziev in the second round. As I said, I think he's a very intelligent fighter because he uses distance in a very strategic fashion, and against a long rangy fighter like Bahamondes, he almost used Ignacio's lankiness against him, since Bahamundes likes to pressure forward as opposed to using distance for striking. Like, he's a big, tall guy, but he likes to move forward. I mean, he's often advancing. And I think Fiziev was like, okay, well, if that's going to be the case, then I can get under a lot of his shots. I can get around a lot of his shots. So I really like the way that he utilizes, because he's one of those kind of bulldog frame dudes, shorter arms, kind of short, stockier build. And I think he utilized that to his advantage with some good cardio as well. So Ignacio, my big note for him was that I think that he really should have been spamming knees and low kicks at the range that he likes to keep, because it would have been a more effective strategy based on like the distance that they were both at. But Fiziev gets the takedown at the end of the second round, and because Ignacio is comfortable off of his back, he accepts the position. That's another kind of misstep on his part. I think that was an unfortunate choice in this type of a fight. He showed in round three, that showed in round three when Fiziev stuffed Ignacio's takedown attempt as well, when Ignacio wanted to grapple. So, I think it was just like, Ignacio is still developing in a lot of ways, even though he is 17-6. So you'd think that there's probably not too much that he needs to do, but fighters need to get better fight over fight. You like to see that. So I think that like a fight like this is one that he should learn from, because I think that this was more a failure of strategy on Ignacio Bahamundes' side as opposed to grit for grit.
Yeah, and I remember saying specifically that all the advantages were in Ignacio's corner. It's going to be a tough fight for Fiziev to overcome, but I really don't even think it was. I think he actually came in here and just handled business, another day at the office type of deal. And, and he's that good. It just sucks that Justin Gaethje is better. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I lean back, because fight IQ is so fundamentally important in this sport. And it really, I think, is one of the key factors that differentiates the good from the great. We talk about the echelons in this sport, and how you break that down. And like, when you see a fighter like Fiziev go through and navigate a fight like this, even if it wasn't the most exciting fight, because I do admit that. I mean, I wouldn't say that this was like a barn burner or anything like that, but just like the choices that I saw him making in this fight based on the type of opponent he was fighting, I think showed the levels to the game. And I think Ignacio can still get there because he is great, but like it was just one of those things where it's like game planning and strategy lent itself to the type of fight that Fiziev was fighting. Ignacio didn't adjust as well. This is the outcome.
Yep, I agree. It was an unfortunate performance. I think it could have been a little better, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think that Ignacio comes back better because of it. Hopefully, like I said, I think that he can learn from this loss and come back better.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's what unfortunately happens for some people that are a little inconsistent. I mean, they get right to the cusp of where they could be on, title terms, but they unfortunately have all the advantages and still lose, which sucks in this case, because I did like Ignacio and I still do, but like, can I really trust him to be that guy if he's a guy that can't beat the guy who's lost to all the other guys, like whatever you want to say. I don't know.
Well, what I would say to that is at least you can take some comfort in the fact that lightweight is in a transitional period right now. We've got Dustin retiring, of course. We've got Justin Gaethje, who's on the cusp of retirement. I mean, there's a lot of shakeup aside from potentially the champion as well, right? I mean, if Islam decides to move up, then who knows what the top of this division is going to look like. So all of that to say that, like, I wouldn't count Ignacio out completely. I think that if he does improve and develop a little bit more, then as things evolve at the top of the division, then there's probably still a place for him up there. But he just needs to get to that great level. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the tall, lanky frame is what we need for lightweight. I mean, Jalen Turner, Tom Nolan, these guys are probably not the title guys, especially right now. I mean, with a little more work, yeah, but I don't know. In this fight, I actually witnessed how different it is for somebody to punch down versus up. And so Ignacio just seemed like he was having a really hard time to punch down, Fiziev is really fucking small and compact. So I don't know. It was an interesting performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, if those are the notes that you take away, then I mean, keep them in the back of your mind for next time he comes up. But I want to still believe. Like I'll give him benefit of the doubt because of the, like I said, the fight IQ differential between them. I'll just chalk it up to Fiziev being a little bit stronger in that department for now. But if Ignacio starts to continue to have like questionable choices, then yeah, maybe the opinion changes.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, let's move on to this main event. A lot of opinions on all sides here. Jamal Hill versus Khalil Rountree Jr. I had said at the beginning of this fight, pretty well early on in the first round, I called it very early that the leg kicks from Khalil's side were going to be the major deciding factor of this fight, and they certainly were, in my opinion. So, what did you think?
They certainly were for the first round. Yeah, I agree with you. I
Not all the way through. I mean, he was throwing them for a lot of it.
No, not all the way through. I mean, sure, he was peppering him in there, but what he did in the first round, he literally hobbled Jamal Hill and then let him walk around for the next 4 rounds. It was very hurtful to see for somebody who I've seen. Khalil Roundtree was somebody who I've seen go to war. Like I've seen him come out with intensity to finish people and careers. Retired Anthony Smith for the time. This was a guy that I knew had the intensity to bring a firefight, and Jamal Hill is one of those dudes that I know will go get punched in the face. We didn't necessarily get that.
But see, okay, and I kind of anticipated an assessment from you like this, and what I will say to this is the leg kicks were certainly inhibiting the movement of Jamal Hill, right? He was still able to throw kicks. He threw some low kicks. He threw a decent body kick at one point. A little bit later, he threw a high kick that did not land, but he was throwing that leg. So if he was able to still move around decently enough, people are saying, "Oh, Khalil was running. Khalil was running." I don't want to hear this fucking narrative that Khalil was running because, if anything, so I'll break it down.
It's not running. He just chose to be boring. I mean, that's really all it came down to be. But go ahead,
No,
continue.
well, I would say that the first round was slow, but Khalil was always first. He was hitting that leg. He was, he had him off balance with it. Whatever you want to say with that, he was doing his work with the kicks. And this is a Muay Thai guy, so the kicks are going to be very important. Even with the slower pace, Khalil was always first. Jamal's lead leg was fucked by early round 2, heavy reactions, tender weight being placed on it. Jamal did nothing to cut off Khalil's circling, no forward offensive aggression to gain any respect. Why would Khalil not fight this exact fight if Hill wasn't going after it himself? So I really think that like if you want to say that Khalil was fighting strategically or over strategically, it shouldn't be running at least, but you got to put the onus on Jamal Hill for losing this fight as opposed to Khalil not going after it harder.
I really don't get how Khalil or how Jamal Hill could be at fault for him bringing the fight and Khalil not engaging as much as he could.
Because he
Yeah,
wasn't bringing it.
he was the one advancing in the fight. You want to talk about people saying Khalil was running? Yeah, because he's on the back foot while Jamal Hill was walking forward, spamming punches, missing. Yeah, but he's at least trying to engage in something where Khalil, it's even crazy is because like Khalil is one of these dudes that, again, we know can finish people. He knocked Jamal Hill down twice and chose not to finish him. At the end of the fight, Jamal goes up to him and they have a little conversation, which was a little interesting, a little hinky, weird thing.
Yeah.
And Khalil, the camera zooms in, and Khalil, he's like, I had to protect myself in there, man. And it's like in my mind, it's like, all right, you wanted the no risk opportunity to get back into the title picture, and we know for a fact Dana don't like this shit. You could say I'm wrong all you want, but we know Dana does not like pussyfooting around in the cage. If you want to be that guy, you knock somebody down and you don't go for a finish twice after, and you kick his legs out from under him, and these are 3 separate events and 3 separate rounds. That's not chess master. That's just you not wanting it. You don't want to be the champion. That's what champions will do is they go for finishes. So
I mean, fair. I hear you. I think that because I mean, I have other things that are points that I think are good points about this, but I guess if that's the assessment, then there's really no two ways about it for you. And if everybody's got their opinions about it, I
Well,
suppose.
I'm glad you even said it. You went right to the Discord and you're like, chess master Khalil. And I'm like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Do you want to be a fucking nerd or do you want to be a fighter? Khalil, you can be the chess master all you want, but hey, there's a reason Alex has the belt or had the belt off of you. There's a reason Ankh has it now. Is because these are fucking chads who take fights and they want to fucking fight. They're
But
not
they were
going to
bringing
fucking
the
pull you
fight
back.
to him though, and he fought that. See, that's the thing. This
And
is what
that's
I'm
the
saying.
crazy part is because why didn't he do that this time?
He
Why
didn't
didn't
have
he?
to. Why would you not
Because
take
he's
the
boring.
layup?
No, because he's boring now. That's all it is.
No.
Why not take the layup? See, that's the problem. These people who take fights and they don't want to have any risk, that's not how you get to the belt. That's just not how you're going to do it. If you want the belt, you have to take a fight that you possibly could lose. Do you think Charles thinks that Ilya is going to fucking knock his head off? Yeah, probably. But he took the fight because he knows there's a gold at the end of that. Like, I don't know.
He if Jamal Hill had been able to go and actually get after it, then it could have been that fight. I'm telling you, Jamal is the one at fault here. In my opinion.
I think you're so wrong because Big Onk also makes a great point. Yuri did what Khalil couldn't in 3 rounds. Like Khalil couldn't finish Hill in 5 rounds. Yuri did it in 3. 2 actually, and he made him look pitiful. And you want to talk about Jamal Hill? He fought the exact same way. He's never fucking fought different. He never shot takedowns in either one of them. He brought his knee wraps out for Yuri and didn't shoot a damn takedown. He comes out with Khalil Rountree. People are thinking, oh, sub is live. Sub is live. No, he does the same thing. He walks forward with his shitty footwork and throws punches that whiff. How do you blame him for not engaging when the dude on the opposite end is doing the
because
nothing?
He wasn't doing nothing. This is I hate this narrative. Round 3 disproves all of this because he was within striking distance, Khalil, the entire time. He's landing shots of his own. Hill couldn't find the rhythm or calculate the distance to catch him, and with chewed up legs, couldn't move well enough to do so either. Khalil drops Jamal in the 3rd round as well. Hard to do that while you're running. And the 4th round is the same thing. Jamal's corner told him to stand his ground in the 4th and make Khalil come to him. He did that. Khalil did it, and Jamal didn't throw his own fucking hands. So this, I'm telling, we're just seeing this whole thing differently.
I'm going to break down a statistical fact for you, right? Khalil Rountree had 5 rounds. Remember this, 25 minutes. He threw 1 more strike than Curtis Blades did in 3 rounds. He threw the exact same amount of strikes as Sadikov did in 2 rounds.
With these scandalous stat numbers that we know always lie?
Hey, they can lie all they want, but all I'm telling you is that's what it comes out to be. Safe or not, Josh Van throws 250 strikes in 3 rounds of fighting. I don't care if he's a flyweight. Khalil had 25 minutes on a moving target that obviously had nothing to offer. If Khalil was so fucking godly and he could do whatever he wanted, why didn't he just finish? Why didn't he want to finish? If he wanted to protect himself, he kicked his legs out from under him. Do you think you think the ground and pound? You think he's got a okay, cool. Okay, you knock him on his ass. Oh, you think that he's still good? Okay, oh, you knock him on his ass again. You still think that there's risk there and not maybe I should do this for the betterment of my career because I already got a title shot that I didn't fucking deserve. So do I think because listen, I would have even argued with you. Khalil gets a finish right here with Jamal Hill. I'd say title shot is warranted here soon. After Alex, I would go for it. After Yuri, whatever you want to do, Khalil can be in that line. But after this performance, no fucking chance. No, he's got 1, 2 more, and he's got to get a finish in those, literally.
All right. I mean, fair. I don't think there's really anything else I can say to convince anything otherwise. So
I just it's crazy is like you see this dude put on a performance of a lifetime when he gets an opportunity that he didn't fucking deserve. And now he comes in and he has to actually earn a fucking title shot. And he comes in and puts a slouch performance on.
It was not a slouch performance. This is what's killing me, though. If Jamal Hill had come out early in this fight and been first, Khalil would have responded. Huh?
You think he should have got a bonus?
No, I don't think he should have gotten a bonus. But I think that but I'm saying that he didn't. Jamal the impetus is not on the person to go out there and put their face in front of the other person to get struck. That's always my point with all of this. It is not Khalil Rountree's objective to say, here, let's go to the center. I'm gonna give you every opportunity to knock me out. He's fighting a strategic fight. If Jamal wants it, he can go after it. It's the same criticism of Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa. Sean saying, "Oh, I had to chase him down. I had to chase him down." Then fucking chase him down. Then
I think you're making an incorrect assessment because Jamal Hill, he was walking into the fire. And yeah, you don't have to, put your face right where they're punching you, but you do have to actually engage with it. And yeah, good people, they don't get hit by the people that are in the range of striking with them, but they're in the range as well because they're going to trade back. If Khalil was on the super outside 2 steps away, he's never going to, he literally is going to have those opportunities once in a blue moon. And here we are, 102 strikes, and that's on paper. He probably threw less, in my opinion. This was a very 50-45, but this was nowhere near as boring as what people describe Marab's performances like. This was so bad, in my opinion, for somebody that I know is entertaining. It just wasn't. So
all right. Well, I mean, I guess then we'll have to come to somewhere in the middle on that. I would like to believe, like I said, I think that if it takes two to tango. If Jamal had been first with his striking, then it could have been a lot more of an exciting fight. So I'll definitely give you that.
how do you, in Jamal's defense, he's walking forward, throwing his hands. What more does he need to do?
Check kicks.
Okay, the kick stopped coming.
Fucking well. At that point, you're already damaged. It's not, again, these are not Khalil's problems. It is not my fault that I damaged you. It's not my fault.
It actually is Khalil's problem. At the end of the day, it is Khalil's problem because he's going to look at himself and wonder why I don't get to the places that I'm getting. And it's because you're not putting on the performances that the fans are needing to see from you. You go out here and finish Jamal Hill, boom. It's not like he came out here with the mindset, it seems. Well, Yuri finished him, so I'm not going to get an opportunity either way. I'll just come out here and play it safe. And that's not what the fuck we want at the top of the divisions. Playing it safe is not going to get you anywhere. Not for me, at least.
All right. Hey, look, I guess we'll shake hands on it, I suppose, but it is what it is then. I mean, he got the win. I guess we're going to have to see what they do with him. I mean, he did say that he acknowledged that he probably has one more before a title shot anyway. So we'll have to see if he'll have to engage.
Thankfully, he's at least not an idiot because that performance was not, we'll get either way.
Yeah, I thought it was a strategically sound performance, and then we'll leave it with that. But okay, so that being said, then what's next for Khalil and what's next for Jamal?
What's next for Khalil? I could care less, honestly.
One performance and you're already writing the guy off. Jesus Christ, Chase, come on.
Yeah, because it's not one performance. It's the mindset. He came in here with the mindset that he can't lose at all costs, so I cannot put a performance on that leaves me vulnerable. That's all it was. And I don't like that type of fighter. That's all I'm saying. And to be fair, there was moments where Khalil's fucking striking looked like dog shit. He was fucking throwing windmills from his fucking hip like he's Sean Strickland. He's fucking, he's doing the whole hammer fist and shit. And it's like, you're doing nothing. Like, you're literally hand fighting with Jamal Hill, who doesn't even have his hand at his face. If you would have blasted him with a combination that you threw at Poton that knocked him to the ground, wow, maybe you could have got some pointers here. But no, all you did was sit and strike with him. You caught him with a jab that knocked him to his ass, and you didn't capitalize on it. You dropped him with another shot. You didn't fucking capitalize on it. You obviously did not come equipped with the skills to take the fight wherever you wanted because you just wanted to have a pity party, a point fight to the decision. You didn't want to actually grapple if it got to the ground. You didn't actually want to clinch if it got there. Neither of them decided to do that. And Khalil, sure, you could skate by with that, but I'm just not here for people who want to skate by. I want people who are ready to jump into the fire. And we'll talk about that big time for the next card.
Sure. Well, the last question that I would have is what aside. So let's say, like I said, Jamal was throwing kicks even with the legs being somewhat battered, right? So what was stopping Jamal from overtaking all of this? Like, what was stopping him from being the person seeing what you're saying here? why didn't he advance harder? Why didn't he go farther forward? Why didn't he take it if you're not getting what you want out of Khalil, why did he not take it further
You're
to him?
asking the man who has no legs why he's not walking further onto the opponent backing up.
His legs were good enough to kick with.
But they were compromised, and that was even one of your major points of why Khalil was doing so good is because he left him compromised with the leg kicks. Okay, the compromised opponent, you're expecting him to walk forward and do more. How about the person who's compromised the opponent walk forward and do more? It like you're, I don't know, it's crazy to me.
I hear you.
Maybe meet both ways, but if you're 2 steps away, I don't think that helps Khalil in any fucking fashion. He didn't want to fight. That's all that was. He was actually scared Jamal would put him out. And honestly, I thought that was a valid fucking reasoning to think could happen. But you obviously didn't want to take that you didn't want to take that risk, and the opportunity that you're gonna get afterward, it's gonna reflect the performance that you put on.
All right. Look, I will I like I said, I'll meet you halfway on that and saying that yeah, I would have liked to see him finish the fight. That I can definitely agree with.
Show that he at least wanted to finish the fight at least. Don't fucking walk out there all lackadaisical and just fucking sit there. Like, dude, fucking fight the bell rang. What are you doing? Like, shit like that it's indicative of what the product is that you are. And I'm not buying it. I don't know.
All right. I mean, I get. Well, we'll see who they end up pairing him up with if that next person can draw that fight out of him. But I think that to Hill's credit,
It's on them to draw the fight out of Khalil. See, this is the problem, and you guys keep babying this dude. If we are fans of Khalil, why are we saying this is a great performance? And like, yeah, the next guy, maybe the next one will be able to bring that fight out of him. Like, why is he not bringing the fight out of himself to the other people? Like, he did it against Anthony Smith. He kicked that fucker's leg in. He fucking wanted to fight Poton after he got fucking popped for whatever supplements he was taking. Where's the fight now? Jamal Hill is a sitting duck. He's one of the worst in the top of the division, and you couldn't go out here and put on a performance that makes me believe that you are worthy of the title at some point. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's it's a stain in my opinion. Like this right here, and people are like, well, this is, I talk about, I'm like, I've seen Khalil put on performances that are great. And I've seen him put on performances that are, not as fun. And they'll be like, well, we're talking about post Thailand. It's like, dude, I'm talking about the fight that happened 2 days ago. Like, it literally was not great. And you want to talk about this is something else. Like, no, the most recent experience from Khalil Rountree was not fun. And I've seen it fun before. So I don't believe it anymore. You're going to have to prove it to me. And I don't believe that I believe that the switch can be turned off now. So that is key. That is
well,
key.
I mean, I think that also if we're breaking it down even further, this goes to the sport side of MMA versus the entertainment side of MMA, or this product that we're consuming here. It's like if you want these fighters to always come out and be explosive and to an extent somewhat reckless, then yeah, I mean, then he didn't do that. And I'll give you that. But I think that he fought if your aim as a fighter is to win your fights, I thought that he did that pretty effectively.
For somebody who's 15-6, I'm sure he needs to navigate his career very well at this point. So hats off to him in that regards.
Yeah, I mean, the guy whose stock rose in defeat against Alex, going out and beating another former champion.
Isn't it crazy how that works? Stock rises in defeat, stock lowers in success.
Yeah,
So he's back to where he started as just the middle of the road guy. That's again probably indicative of where he's going to end up in his career. Is just the middle of the fucking top 7. Whatever.
Well, yeah, and because I mean, and I'm seeing here, Toby saying we expect fighting from the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Yes, we certainly do, but I think if the aim of the fighter is to win the fight, then that was accomplished. And I think that Khalil would say that it's not my job to go out there and put myself into any unnecessary risk that is like that I don't need to do. If I'm that far ahead,
I think he does need to.
Yeah,
I think it
I
specifically
think
comes down to him needing to actually engage to put on an entertaining performance. There's people who are counter strikers who stay on the outside and they're fun. Look at City Kickboxing; they made a whole fucking career out of it. Khalil Rountree's a Thai fighter and decided not to step in and do any clinching, no knees, no fucking elbow. Like he did nothing that post Thailand Khalil was supposed to be. Like he's literally just came out here and did a shitty fucking Khalil performance. It's like I was watching somebody imitate Khalil striking for. I was watching Jeff Neal for 3 rounds.
All right. I mean, look, fair is fair. Then, if that's the feeling about it, then that's the feeling about it. I guess we'll
Yeah,
see
it
what ends up
sucks
happening.
too. I'm not a Khalil hater. I am now for sure because people are blowing this performance out of the fucking water. But I don't know. I would like to see him because, like I said, I've seen him put on great performances. Where did they go? I don't know. What's next? I don't really care. He just better fucking finish because if he don't, I am the number one hater now. If you don't finish, so
All right. Point taken. And I guess we'll leave it at that for the main event of this card. So, all of that being said, that was UFC Fight Night Hill versus Roundtree Jr. After that very spirited discussion about the main event and all of our discussions about every other fight, what did you think of this card overall, Chase?
it was a fucking mess. It was a mess. Oh my goodness. Like I don't know. It had so many ups and downs. The service was so shit. I was having such trouble getting the streaming to actually work. Um and yeah, we only had 2 finishes or some shit. So
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. This was certainly not one of the better ones. Now we're a couple weeks in a row with some lackluster cards. So this is a trend that I hope does not continue. But we're at the mercy of what the organization wants to do, and I think that that's also part of the problem. So I was glad that you brought up one championship and PFL at the start of this thing. People, diversity and variety when it comes to the free market is a great thing. Competition in the free market breeds greatness and pushes organizations and products to become better. So, you vote with your wallet, I suppose, but we're kind of held into a bit of a position here when it comes to this sport because the UFC is so dominant. You're just going to kind of have to deal with what you get from them. And this is yet another example of that.
Before we close out and go into the next card, I
Yeah.
did forget one crucial thing from the PFL that I saw, which was hilarious. A mouthpiece got knocked out, right? And just like in the UFC, the ref did not see this one. So the fighter was then taken down by his mouthpiece, picked it up himself, put it back in while he was on the bottom position. It was pretty Chad. He was fishing around, like he's on the ground and he's like fishing around for it and then picks it up, puts it back in. Like it was Chad. Like the ref, he was like fair game. Fuck it. I don't care. Shit. So
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. And same referees often in
yeah,
the
no,
two
it was definitely a
organizations.
known guy. I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the bald ones.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's good to see that the skills translate to different organizations, huh?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, let's move on to this coming week. UFC 317 Topuria versus Oliveira. Ilya Topuria, Charles Oliveira in the main event. Chase, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, golly, I don't know what to expect, especially because this is a new weight, a new home of a weight class for Ilya. He actually has performed at 55 one time against Jai Herbert. Will he still be the same threat? I don't know. Charles at plus 340. This is tough, guys. I don't know. I would love to think Ilya is going to continue his title or his reign, not title reign, but he might get a new title and then continue that one. But Ilya's scary, and he really is the boogeyman. I will not doubt this guy. He can do a lot of different shit.
Yeah, as I've said about Ilya, leading up to this point, until he shows me any reason not to believe the bill of goods that he is selling, I will continue to believe it. So, Charles is one of those guys that I feel at this point, and I am a fan. Don't get me wrong here, but Charles is a guy that I feel like they throw out often as like the dude who get a win over him and it propels you kind of thing. Like he's a stepping stone at this point to a lot of other fighters, and it's unfortunate because he is good, but I just don't think that he is as good as Ilya.
I'm not trying to harp, but I want to ask because I think it'll be good for the chat. So if Ilya came out here and played the safe route and pointed his way to a 5-round decision against Charles Oliveira, you wouldn't think something, you wouldn't be a little upset?
No, no, honestly not. I'd be all right with it. I mean, like if he fought the same way and was landing shot, because I'm saying it's different. Like I'll give you more of a leg to stand on with Zalal and Calvin Kattar, because that was like there were like legitimate times where Zalal was on the other side of the cage. I thought Khalil got his shots, moved out of the way of danger. Got his shots, moved out of the way of danger. He landed a good amount. He was landing good leg kicks. He got a couple good oblique kicks in there as well. The leg kicks obviously did the damage that they needed to do, so he got that early in the fight. Like I thought that it was a strategically sound fight, and if Ilya does the exact same thing, I'd be okay
But
with it.
okay, but then you would be saying Charles is at fault, because you know how Charles is. He's gonna walk forward and he's game, but you would be blaming him for not engaging enough if Ilya was dancing on the outside for 3 rounds, like Pubes has just mentioned against Josh Emmett was a very an option to throw out there for Ilya's fucking decision performances. So if he does that again and he dances around and Charles Oliveira is walking around chasing him, you're gonna sit here and tell me next week Charles Oliveira should have wanted it more. He should have tried to engage more. That's what
Yeah, you have to go and make the win happen. That is your job. That is your job as a fighter, is to make the win happen. It is not your opponent's job to stand there and play your game. If they're going to run, you go get them. If they're going to dodge and duck and dip and dive and play the dodgeball game, you figure out a way to make the win happen. That's what your job is as a fighter. If you are the best in the world, then it should. If you're the best in the world, then it should be an easy task for you. Go and
see.
fucking track him down.
And I like the way you said it. His job as a fighter is to win fights. And thankfully Ilya don't think that way. He thinks his job is to fucking kill the dude in the cage with a mean hook to his face. And I'm very grateful he's going to come out here and hopefully do that. I hate that that's the outcome. If it does go to decision, shout out to Charles for being able to take these shots, but Ilya decision, honestly, that might be a pretty good line. Plus fucking 500. I don't know. Just take it and call it a day.
Plus 500 for Ilya by decision. Is that what it
I
is?
don't fucking know. Might be. I mean, I'm sure for my knockout is minus 200 or something. So
Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to see. I mean, Ilya's takedown defense has been really good throughout his run. This is gonna probably be the biggest test of that. Something tells me that if I think that way because of how wrong I am about predictions often, then Charles is going to try to stand and strike with him, and that might end up being a really bad idea. I would suspect that Charles has to respect the power of Ilia Topuria coming into this thing and recognize that, and probably would want to stay away from it. So there's a lot of different dynamics in this fight, and of course the weight being a huge one as well. I mean, again, I'm sticking with Ilya just based on what we've currently seen from him, and the greatness that I think that he has already established in his own mind. He's a believer of selling a bill of goods is definitely what he's doing, and but he's backing everything up time over time. So as of right now, like I said, I think Charles has been way too spotty. He's a dude who has flecks of greatness, and then they immediately get shifted towards the other side. Fight over fight. If you track the progression, it's great win. He gets the belt, loses the belt immediately. Gets another great win, loses two. Whatever. What I mean? Like it's he's a bit of a candy cane guy, and I think that he is the perfect stepping stone for Ilia Topuria to establish himself in this new weight class.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. The flyweights back again in the conversation here. I mean, Kai Kara getting his shot. What do you think?
I think Pantoja is going to be able to get this done. He ate all the shots from Kai Asakura. And to be honest, I'm a big fan of Kai. I think he has a very good striking skill set for this division. He's tall, he's rangy, and he knows how to use his knees and mix them in. Brandon Royval is also very good at doing that. Kai Kara France is a very basic boxer, in my opinion. I just don't think he's going to be able to land the shot that takes Pantoja out. If a leaping hook from Kai didn't and a knee straight to the sternum didn't take Pantoja out, I don't know if anything is. I think he's just a fucking Terminator right now. This is my guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's just that good. He's one of the champions of this sport that I believe does not get enough recognition for his greatness that he has shown time over time. All of the wins that he has, I mean, there are some that are more exciting than others for sure. I mean, I think that that's one of his major detriments is that, he is another fighter that, will often meet halfway certain points where it's like, if his opponent's not making the fight crazy, then he's going to, be very wrestle fucky, definitely go down there and grind it out in a way that's not as dangerous to him. So, I mean, if you want to have that as a criticism, then perhaps, but the dominance is undeniable. And Kai Kara is a dude that we've seen have problems in the past. So,
Mhm.
is there some great leveling up to his game that has happened over the course of a couple of fights? It certainly doesn't seem that way based on a win over Steve Erceg or a knockout of Steve Erceg. We've talked about Steve a bunch of times on this show, and his whole circumstances as to how he got to where he was. So I'm not seeing anything new or different in this fight that Alexandre Pantoja hasn't seen a million times.
100%. I agree. This is just another walk in the park. It's just a fill in for for the next fight that we got. And we're gonna see the next title contender here. Kyle Carl is just keeping the seat warm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so their next one up is Brendan Royval versus Josh Van. Of course, we know how you feel about him, but can he overcome the well-roundedness of Brendan Royval?
I want you to make note of this because I think this is something that you make note of all the time with retired fighters of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Brandon Royval has come out and said that he's going to move to 135. He says
Oh,
the money fights are there. So maybe he comes out here and loses and he dips out to 135. I mean, there's nothing left for him here. He doesn't want another title shot. He doesn't want to be a gatekeeper. He just wants to move up, I guess. So Josh Van could probably get a W here and be on his way to a title shot. Don't care how it happens, but that's just the story and how it unfolds.
yeah. I mean, this is obviously the biggest test that Van has ever faced, in my opinion. I mean, Royval has proven himself to be one of the, like, we're talking about flyweight here, that where there are so many killers and so many unique skill sets at flyweight as well. Like, you've got some great power strikers, you've got a lot of great wrestlers, got a lot of great grapplers, and a lot of great combinations of all of those things. And Royval is one of those people that is a combination of all of those things. So, I mean, the well-roundedness, I think, is the biggest detriment to Josh Van when it comes to this fight. Now, I mean, if the mentality is not necessarily there, then perhaps, but I think that he makes a bigger statement moving up if he comes into the new weight class with a big win on his record. I mean, Van, as much as we love him on this show, maybe not necessarily the biggest name as far as name value recognition goes just yet. Don't get me wrong. I think that he certainly will be. I think that this might be a little bit more than he can chew right now at this stage of his career. And I hate to say that because I like him a lot, but I mean, Brandon Royval is just so good everywhere. And that's going to be the big difference, I think. And, and Van's takedown defense is very good. I don't think it's going to matter.
I think the worst case scenario is that Josh Van loses in a split decision to Brandon Royval, just like Tatsuro Taira, and then we match them up after this. The best case scenario, Josh Van wins by decision. I don't think he'll finish Brandon Royval. That's nuts. Brandon Royval's he's a dog. Josh Van wins by decision, and then he's next in line for the belt. I think that is the best case. Worst case is honestly not that bad of a scenario. Even if he gets smoked, it's a short notice against the number one contender. People can make excuses that will give him another person that's high enough rank that matters, kind of deal.
So you're thinking then, and has he confirmed then that if he wins this fight, he's still moving up no matter what?
I mean, it was a whole video. He said, "I don't want to be in 25 anymore. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. There's money fights in 35." So that sounds to me as like this is the last go at it. Whatever
Yeah,
happens, happens.
could be. Well, I'm going to still tentatively give him the nod on this one just because of the skill set and the acumen that he has across the board. That's really all that it comes down to, because I think that he is we talked about fight IQ earlier in the show. He's the type of guy that if Van starts overwhelming him with his striking, he will go to the wrestling. If that starts to be untenable, if he's not able to get him down, he figures out the next thing, and it's just a chain of that throughout the entirety of the fight. So it's really not a knock on Josh Van. I just think it's a little bit premature for this level of fight for him. But I do think that eventually he is this caliber. It's just this fight right now is the brain and the gut are both going Royval. But I'd be happy to be wrong about it.
No, I'm going Van.
All right.
100%.
Stick with Van. I mean, how could you not when he's so much your guy on that one?
True.
All right. Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. I mean, Dariush, I think people were kind of surprised that he's even still fighting.
Yeah, I think Renato gets this one done like he always was supposed to. He wanted the easy fight. He called this one out. Come out here and get this dub. Keep your name in the picture.
Yeah, I mean, for this to be as close as it is a little bit crazy to me. But I mean, Dariush is dangerous on the ground, and I would think that he's going to be looking for the takedown pretty early. So Renato has a good chance here to use his striking, and if he can do that effectively, then this should be pretty easy for him, I want to say.
Renato by finish, I'm going to say.
All right. I mean, I'd take him by decision, but he ends up in fights that are like kill or be killed sometimes. So the only reason I'd be concerned about a finish either way is because Dariush might end up making it a very clinch heavy, wrestle heavy affair.
We'll see. I'm going to lean more towards Renato just smokes him and grapple fucks him and gets an RNC or something.
True.
Even though his grappling is supposed to be very, very good, Dariush, I just don't believe it. I'm just not believing it no more.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I think that, a lot of people are surprised that he's even still fighting, period. I mean, granted, he was supposed to be on the card where Renato ended up fighting Makhachev. So it's not like he was out of the equation altogether, but he's just, I think that the sport has kind of moved on from him. So if he wants to be in any kind of conversation, he needs to win this in an emphatic fashion. And if not, then, maybe it's time for something else.
I think we see something similar to Gunnar Nelson with this. Like he comes back after a long amount of time and he's some grappler with some credentials that were great at a time, but the sport has aged past that.
Right.
So
yeah, I could see that too. All right. Well, moving on. Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima. Peyton coming off of his big quote unquote fraud check there. Lima pretty deadly in some of his fights. He's the one that got that short notice win, right? He'd come in on
I
short
believe
notice.
so. I'm a big fan of Felipe Lima, but I can't remember what the reasoning would be. Miles Johns, he beat him. Was that the short notice one?
No, that's the one I saw live. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was in Tampa.
Gotcha. And then he subbed Naimov. So
yes, yeah. That I think was might have been the one I was thinking about there. We've talked about Peyton Talbot not having that killer instinct. We talked about that a little earlier in the show, and Talbot is one that technicality is there, but the actual like drive to be dominant is not necessarily there for him. At least it hasn't been. Lima is a dude who's going to go out there and bring the fight to him in a real way. So I would think that Felipe Lima is probably going to overwhelm him pretty heavily.
I do like the Lima pick. When this fight got put together, I said I think I'm going Lima, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
There a part of you that's thinking that Peyton can pull it off?
Dog money on Talbot is looking really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is only the one loss, and it is to Hani Barcelos, who I think had been counted out unnecessarily by a lot of people. So I just think the grit is different. I think there are levels to the grit, and he just, I just think the Lima's got it, and Peyton doesn't necessarily have it. If it's not going to be the type of fight that he wants, then it's going to be a lot harder for him to get over.
Right. No, I hear you.
So, all right. Moving on down to the prelims, Jack Hermanson versus Gregory Rodriguez, the RoboCop. I like this fight. Nice to see Jack coming back. RoboCop desperately in need of a win at this point.
Yeah, Jack coming back is pretty good. He was able to dismantle Joe Pyfer in his random, win back or his random fight back, that time, and then he takes a year off, and he'll probably come out here and stall another prospect, quote unquote. This dude's fucking old, but Gregory Rodriguez, maybe not the best pick. Is Jack Hermanson the caliber that Jared Cannonier is? Maybe not, but it's a decent one. It's a decent one.
I think that there is potential for this fight to go similar to the to the Cannonier fight. And the reason I say that is because I think that Jack has a much better gas tank than Gregory Rodriguez does. I think RoboCop punches himself out a little too early.
3 rounds though.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, if he's gunning in, early, like if he's because that's the Cannonier fight, yeah, it was a 5-rounder for sure.
That got to 4 though. You got to think about.
Yeah, but I mean, but he had already been zapped by 2. I mean, if you
True.
go back and watch that fight, I mean, he put everything out there in round 1. Now, granted, I mean, hopefully he learned from that, like maybe pace
And
yourself
that
a little
was
bit.
like a circumstance where he was about to get the finish. Like, I don't know if he's going to get that in the first round. Is he going to have the moment to gas out? Maybe not.
True. Yeah. I mean, if he can overwhelm early and keep that pressure on, what I would like to see from him, Rodriguez, that is just a good amount of power, but consistent throughout the course of the fight, as opposed to going balls to the wall early. Like I always like people that come out strong, and I always like people who put a good amount of power on their shots, but tailor it a little. We talk about the video game with the stats bar, just instead of going max, you go maybe 75% and then keep that throughout the
We
entirety of
got to
the fight.
remember, we watched this dude live. We know what he looks like. His frame is huge for middleweight. There's probably not going to be a scenario where he doesn't have a cut that's going to be something that's going to zap anything out of the fight. He's always probably going to gas out after a little bit. He's
Sure.
just massive. So
Yeah,
it's tough.
that is true. And I mean, Hermanson, you said Rodriguez is old. I mean, Hermanson, 37 years old. That's he's certainly getting up there as far as the sport is concerned.
True. And Gregory's a killer, man. I don't know. This is probably an easy win for him, though.
For RoboCop.
Gregory. Yep.
Yeah, I would think that it certainly should be. I mean, like, if he was a guy who was, kind of skyrocketing for a little minute there, I don't see any reason why he can't get this job done here. It's just going to be a matter of if Hermanson can outmaneuver him, because he will
Yeah.
be, he'll be a little bit of a smaller guy, certainly undersized in comparison. Will he be able to utilize his movement well enough to, have Rodriguez chasing his tail?
100%.
Hyder,
Oof.
love this. All right, Hyder Emil versus Jose Miguel Delgado. Jose Delgado,
You should
contend,
remember
yeah,
him. Contender series.
yeah,
This dude's a
contender
fucking
series, yeah,
killer.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do remember him. Versus Hyder Emil, who is legitimately a killer as well. So this has potential to be a bit of a banger, no?
I think Hyder Emil at plus money is good because Jose Delgado is somebody who's a very rangy fighter. He's very tall, and he has power at the range. Hyder Emil is somebody who can overwhelm you and get into the clinch and maybe get some sort of control time racked up and make it dirty. Will Jose Delgado come out here and starch Hyder Emil? I don't believe so, but that lends me to believe that Hyder's going to be able to grind out a win by decision, because that's just what he's been doing lately.
Yeah, and I mean, this is going to be a good test to see if Delgado can hang in that department. I mean, because if he's doing a lot of rangy striking, then he's got to be able to do what Oban Elliott wasn't able to do. I mean,
Right.
get yourself out of the briar patch, so to speak. So, yeah, I mean, I got to believe that based on what I've seen so far from Hyder, like this is to me would seem like a bit of a favorable matchup, even if it is a dude who's tough, but it is a guy that's just making his beginning here. Hyder young in his career too, though, so maybe a
Yeah.
bit more even than I'm giving it credit for. Either way, I've seen greatness out of Hyder. Delgado, he's got a little bit more to prove, but he could prove it here. So this is
True.
a tough one.
Yeah, I agree. I think I want to go with Hyder just because I've been representing my boy for a while now. But man, Jose Delgado, he might be something crazy, and I do not doubt if we see something out of him, it's going to be electric.
You thinking finish on this one?
Not from Hyder. I think Hyder is going to come out here and decision him. I think Jose Delgado, it's possible he gets overwhelmed, gets taken down, and then doesn't have the energy and the spunk that he started with to be able to come out here and just lightning finish. But I could be wrong. I thought this was actually a lot bigger of a disadvantage here. I thought it was like 5'7" to 5'11", but 5'9" to 5'11". Okay, Hydermill might have a better chance here than I thought.
I didn't realize that Hyder was 35.
Yeah, dude, he's a fucking old guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I did
but
not
he's a
realize
Chad,
that.
ain't he?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. With the cardio that he's got, I mean, the dude is
Yeah,
a fucking ball of energy. He's like the
but
tornado, right?
if he gets fucking finished, I mean, a 35-year-old, he's never been, well, he's 11-0. He's never been finished. So would we be surprised if a 35-year-old gets chin checked? I don't think we should be. We'll see. Hydermill does eat some shots, though. In all of his fights, he's eaten some shots. So
True.
Delgado KO is live, guys. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, if your book has one of those specials where it's like Hyder by decision or Delgado by finish, or
Mhm.
by knockout, that would
Yeah.
be, I think that would be a pretty good value there. But yeah, this would probably be one that I might even just stay away from as far as betting goes, because, well, it's just everything we just talked about, like, does not
Mhm.
lead me to any strong opinions.
Right.
So. All right. Viviane Araújo versus Tracy Cortez. Tracy, who has been a tremendous letdown in the past, versus Viviane, who is okay, I would say.
I think this is the perfect time for me to say Tracy's going to do her thing and get this win, but I could totally feel a check coming from Aruja. Uh, I don't think I want to put money on this one because Tracy, she did only lose to Rose, but Rose is not fucking good, guys. So I don't know. Tracy's, we'll see. I don't know if I want to put money on this one, but I definitely won't put money against her, but I am skeptical that she'll get this one done.
Over 1.5.
There you go.
Come on. But yeah, no, Tracy, like I said, she's been a bit of a letdown in the past. I think that she's one of those types of fighters to me that is like a tough, she's one tough chick, but like doesn't have all of the pieces to be a great fighter. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, she's got the will to be a good fighter, but the technicality and the skill just doesn't
Right.
match up to that. So I could certainly see this going Araujo's way. Yeah, I would probably, I mean, I'll tentatively say I'm going with Araujo on this one. But that's just based on like fight over fight. But again, we got a lot of fighters that are later in the years compared to other ones. She's 38 years old. With women, it doesn't matter as much as I've said in the past. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still riding with Viviane on this one. Again, it's just because Tracy has never really impressed me, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I hear you.
And next up is Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borshev. I love this fight. This is one where Terrence McKinney could either get the first round knockout or get flopped on his ass, which seems to just be his MO.
I would say this one's gonna be either first round finish for Terrence or it's gonna be a point decision by Terrence. Probably. I don't think Borshev's got this anymore.
No. I
No.
mean, 8-5 at this point. Yeah, those losses are starting to creep up pretty heavily for him. I like Vyacheslav Borshev. I actually him versus Nazim Sadikov went to a draw because it was such a close.
And they danced together.
And they did dance together. I love that fight. That's one of my favorites because it was a really good display of two guys laying it all on the line and then celebrating with each
Oh,
other.
I didn't know you liked people who laid it on the line. Interesting. Continue.
Oh
Tell
my
me
God.
more.
All right. Well, Terrence McKinney's certainly one of those people. He goes out there and runs face first into kicks and and sometimes is able to
Yes.
be first with those attacks. So, yeah, Vyacheslav Borshev. I mean, does he not have it anymore? I don't know if he ever really did have it to begin with, but he is tough. I could see this maybe going a little bit deeper than round one because Terrence McKinney is always known, it's like round one is win or lose for him. Generally, he's like all balls to the wall from the jump.
Might as well be Hamza, buddy.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not an unfair comparison. Will Vyacheslav Borshev be able to be overcome that way? I want to believe no. I want to believe that maybe he's going to be able to at least make it into the second round. But when you said McKinney by points, I was like, that does track. That sounds like it could be the case. So
Nobody's expecting it because he's obviously the first round guy, but I think the numbers should be really nice for you.
yeah. So I'll go with Terrence on this one, even though he's another person that I've been like, never again am I betting on Terrence McKinney. But yeah.
And he'll
All
get
right.
subbed or something,
Yeah, and then that very well could be too. So keep that in mind. But all right, yes, the Florida man himself, Cedricus Dumas, back again, fresh off of his last arrest back in the octagon versus Jackson McVeigh. Who is Jackson McVeigh?
Who cares? That's not the important part. Did you know that he actually confirmed that he was hiding in a dog cage when the police found him?
He confirmed that himself.
Honest, he was on the video. He's like, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah, I was hiding in that cage, dude. I don't want to get caught." Like,
Wow. All right. I mean, that's great to know.
he,
No, I
he's
did not
he's
know
one
that.
honest guy.
Yeah, well, he's one honest guy and certainly one dangerous guy
Does he
outside of the
know
cage.
that
That is.
dog cages normally have holes all the way around them? So he's probably not the brightest one.
That would also be probably an accurate assessment of Cedricus Dumas. I would agree.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, either way,
That
yeah,
being said,
so probably it's a feeder fight. I mean, they obviously gotta get our boy back on the win column, or they're feeding him to an upcoming prospect who's about to just murder him, and they're gonna send him back to house arrest or whatever.
yeah, for real. This is he has a special exemption from the leg monitor for this fight, I'm sure. So, um, yeah, I mean, sure, give Cedricus the win on this one, unless this Jackson McVeigh guy comes out here and completely starches him, which wouldn't be that bad of a thing to me because Cedricus is somebody who I cannot root for anymore based on his outside of the cage activities. He's a little bit too much of an actual thug outside of the cage, and then inside of the cage, he's not really much of a thug at times. Like his last
Yeah,
fight was atrocious. So
yeah,
all of those things together combine into my assessment as not being a fan anymore.
100%.
Jonathan Janice versus Alvin Hines, yet another person who has no picture on ESPN and a name that I do not recognize.
They found him down the street doing drywall. This is Denis' way to get back into the win column. Easy does it.
Brother, how the hell this guy goes from fighting Marcin Tybura and taking a very heavy beating to fighting, an unnamed individual that they exactly found that way that you mentioned. So, yeah, again, this should be pretty much a slam dunk. I would think. Was the odds? They didn't have the odds up for the Streakus fight. Yeah, I was curious what the odds were on that one, but I would think he's a heavy favorite as well. Janine is a minus 300 on this one. I think that's probably a pretty slam dunk. Unless this guy is some unknown killer, but we have not seen much of that, so I wouldn't suspect it.
No, yeah, he's definitely not.
True. All right, and to start everything off, Nico Price versus Jacoby Smith. Jacoby Smith coming on off of the Contender Series, yes?
Yes, he was the one who injured his opponent by jumping on his leg.
Great. What a great way to start off the career in the organization. A good platform to enter the organization versus Nico Price, who you can finish him, but if you cannot hang wrestling wise, he will take you down and tie you up into a pretzel. And not in the greatest way necessarily, but he certainly will want to try to. So, can Jacoby Smith overcome that?
Yeah, plus 800 points. Take Nico by decision somehow, some way if he controls him the entire fight. This would be awesome.
But I mean, Nico at a plus 800. Yeah, Jesus Christ, that would be pretty insane. Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Smith, younger,
You can't
obviously.
put money on the dude. You just have to go for Nico Price and just hope for the best. So,
Yeah. I mean, there's submission potential there. I mean, for such a crazy differential, do a straight bet on Nico Price. You can do worse.
yeah.
And then, no. So, yeah, I mean, you think Jacoby's taking that?
Probably, dude. Minus 2,000. Who fucking knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
it's not like I can do anything with that.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, Nico Price probably, like I said, straight single bet. I think you could do worse. I mean, Nico's definitely a dude who should be at least on the tail end of his career, but he's I think one of those guys that's going to continue fighting until there's no more leeway to be given to him. So good on him for that. See if he can pull off the sub.
GFL will be calling. Don't worry.
Any one of these days now, we're gonna get that big announcement.
Yeah.
I got my notifications turned on for GFL.
Oh yeah.
All right, and that will do it for UFC 317, Taporia versus Oliveira. Of course, I will be watching this, hopefully with the Vitz King. We'll see about that, but you can find me doing the watch along if you want to hang out and watch these fights with me. I am at youtube.com/@YamaShow. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They will always find me enjoying the UFC streams, watching along with you guys on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And of course, sometimes I'm on Twitter making some funny comments, being a goof on x.com/creativepartin, Partin.
At Yama Show on Twitter and on Instagram for me as well. We are also simulcasting to Twitch, Kick, and Trovo. If you want to follow on any of those platforms, please do. In the meantime, myself and Chase, hopefully, are going to be concluding the watch along, or the reviews that we've been doing, the watches that we've been doing of the Cage series on Netflix. So hopefully we'll have the final episode of that out this week if all goes to plan. I will also be doing a live watch along of The Ultimate Fighter tomorrow night. And Chase, you're going to be doing a rewatch?
Yeah, I'll probably most likely a rewatch on Wednesday. Yeah, for Tough. Yep.
Oh, there you go. So watch along for those as well. And I'm in the early stages of doing a follow-up video about something we did not mention on this show, the vacation of, or the retirement of the heavyweight champion, John Jones. But I am working on a video about that. I got the script kind of formulating at the moment. So at some point you might see that.
I think it's fitting. I mean, that's exactly how Dana just dropped the news to us. He just went to the press after the fights and he was just like, all right, John Jones retired. Tom is now the heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
Question. Like,
yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, no, I love him or hate him. I actually think that Ariel Helwani's tweet about that was spot on, saying that, yeah, kind of, because of this wild goose chase that we went on for a year and a half, it all ends in a, in the middle of the night in Azerbaijan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, keep an eye out for that as well. And, anything else coming out on the channels, we will be here for you. So in the meantime, everybody have a great rest of your night, great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.
It's